bedroom shadows, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed. Ghostly apparition hovering over me, asking what it wants to know. I'm shaking now, it calls out my name, cloaked and haunting me, cold hand touching me, fear overwhelming me, tapping at my window. I can't bear to open my eyes, a breath on my neck, floating apparitions everywhere. Go to sleep with the light on. I wake up paralyzed.
Seeking power over those that oppose me. Unspeakable crime, murder at midnight. A deal I made, a life I had to take. Someone I loved once held so tight. The screams will follow me. Cries of my ancestors said, go away. My operator, fasting in brain, shape-shifting. I feel the animal high inside me. I feel the change. I feel the change coming. We are one but not the same. This form I desire is simple.
Huh?
I was going to say, move your mouth and I'll talk for you.
Oh,
So I was gonna
okay.
say-
Well, you kind of audible that at the very end there, and I'm like, I'm already on camera. But Nelly was gonna audible for me. As you can see, we're wearing the symbol of the Leviathan, aka the Sailor's Cross. That's the symbol of the devil. It's not the devil; it's the super devil. He killed the original devil in a coup. He's horrible. He lives off of the blood of innocents and cocaine. He's terrible. He's terrible. He's from Oakland, from Hell's Angel, the super devil. He's also been the leader of the Latin Kings and the Rolling 60s Crips. But I think his worst achievement as the super devil was when he got Nancy Pelosi in office. Just, all the other things he's done, trafficking, all the drugs and everything, horrible.
This guy's rap sheet. What a shame.
Hangs out with Don King. Just not a good guy. Jake Paul. He's friends with Jake Paul. I joke.
It's all fun and games. Yo.
It's all fun and games till someone gets kneecapped. We were actually joking about that on the way over here. Nelly bought a couple scratch offs, and I said, "Hey, she's going to scratch them off during the show." And I said, "You know what? We end up winning, And you know how that would play out. Let me tell you how it would play out, folks. We were joking around, and I said, we're gonna win in the middle of the show, and I'm gonna be like, we won. See you, suckers. Throw the microphone. This is all bullcrap. All these people's stories are whack. Lady, you didn't see no gargoyle. That was my wife's dog, Baby. She's a hairless little schnauzer. She looks like a damn gargoyle, and we had it running around in your yard. Peace. Peace. Oh, oh, oh. It's over. No more of this crap.
Cutscene and
Then after like a few months, too many trips to the casino, got yourself in some trouble. You're back. You're all like, you got a black eye, you busted a lip, you got some tape on your nose, maybe an ear's hanging. I don't know. Something's wrong. And you're like, hey folks, welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. Long time no see, huh? How about that Dogman? He's still spooky. Ooh, a Dogman running around. You got some guy standing. Do show correct. Yes, Boris. I think Boris is going to be a part of the show. He works for the entrepreneur wing of the Russian group of people who are entrepreneurs. And I have to make payments to them for some appliances. Yep. Them and the Choctaw Casino have just been up my butt. Along with the IRS and other alphabet agencies. Winning the lottery is a curse, folks. Let me tell you. You know, they always say that, but the people that they pick to talk about, they don't seem like they're very educated. Like, that was the worst thing that ever did happen. I was alligator hunting every day and just living my life. And then I won a bunch of money. Cut to, I'm on crack. And you're like, but that guy kind of looks like he would have already been. He's probably already doing it. He just upped his.
No, I was on meth before.
He upped his daily crack/meth uptake because he had unlimited funds. At least he thought it was unlimited.
Everything was fine while I was on meth until I got enough money for crack.
And when you start going to those dice games and down there in Benton,
I ever been going down to them dice games with them minorities down there?
you start hanging out on Bourbon Street. You know what it was? It was them damn vampire reptilian werewolves. They did all that to me. That's what it was. I was fine when I was just rolling around at LBL screaming and hooping and hollering. Now and then I started doing that down there in Louisiana. That's when everything went bad. The point is, though, it kind of looks like people who have this really bad. It seems like it kind of is like already there.
Yeah.
It just exacerbates because of something.
so what I'm hearing is do meth and you'll win the lottery.
Well, yeah, it seems kind of like, but the odds seem to go up. I would, you rarely hear about some like really respectable person winning the lottery and they're like, yes, I own 6 businesses and now I'm going to invest and we're going to look for the cure for cancer. No, it's like, I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
They're going to be hoes everywhere around I done left my wife. She's gone. He's like, how could you leave your sister? I'm like, because I don't need you, woman. And then they come back and they're just like, it was the worst thing that ever did happen. After 18 boats and 4 houses, 22 wives. I joined the Mormon church. I don't know what the heck, and then they just, it's something bad. It goes south. And it's always like that.
They always end up broke.
Yeah. Chris Anderson, shake those chicken bones. Shake, shake, shake.
Where is it?
Shake, shake, shake.
I got it.
Shake your drumsticks.
You're ready.
Shake your drumsticks. You got the snake handlers over there doing what they do. So this one is interesting. We're going to talk a story tonight. I debated. There were 3 stories, folks, and I use this is a true thing I'm going to tell you. Okay, no more Chuckle House. We're being serious here. So shut up and stop laughing.
All right, I'm out.
Stop laughing. Joanne and Chris and Zara. This isn't fun. This isn't funny. Okay? I'm trying to clean my room. My vacuum keep knocking on the door.
Let's just stop laughing. It's not funny no more.
The joke is no more for the joke is over.
You laugh when I say you can laugh.
And when you don't laugh, it's the fun and to quit it with the other friend.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's what happened last time.
Well,
You want to see what's gonna happen next time?
You turds. So you never mistreat women. So I can't help it. I'm laughing. I'm very happy I sent out about 30 messages, and somebody took a screenshot of one of my messages and reposted it in a group.
Did you ever find out what group?
No. And so one of the members said, this has been going around. And they're like they sent it around like it was like, this message has cooties. This guy has cooties. Have you seen this guy?
Send this to 10 friends, or you'll get cooties too.
Get cooties from him.
One of those 90s chain emails.
Don't go to his channel. They say that they're doing bad things like worshiping Godzilla. Leviathan.
Wrong God.
They worship Zilla. They call him God. It's horrible. You want to listen? Don't listen, folks. Your blood will come out of your ears. You know, he's a reptilian. He'll eat you. I must be a crackhead reptilian because I can't even eat a whole chicken. I'm like, I can't eat all of it. I'll try. I'm eating arm.
He'll eat you unless you're wearing your PRT certified Leviathan.
PRT cooties, hooties.
Hooties.
And then one person in the group, and there was one group I was in, they said they'll send you a hoodie. Like that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just go listen to his horrible content. And at the end, you might win a hoodie.
It's like a timeshare presentation.
Exactly. You're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, this guy just talks about all these. If I have to hear the word ghost or Dogman one more time, I swear. You guys, seriously. Oh, it's time for the giveaway. Oh, it's time for the giveaway. Oh my God. I didn't win. I hate this guy. I hate him. Now I'm going to share with the whole world. The internet's going to know you suck. Yeah. All those people say that you're a bad guy. They're totally correct. But anyway, this is the prelims, folks. And if you're on the replay gang, just fast forward it to 29:29. I totally just made that number up. I have no idea what time the silliness is going to end.
Sorry, there's going to be someone that afterwards in the comments complaining and putting timestamps.
Yeah.
It takes forever to get these stories.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it also, you have to get people to fill up in the chat too. So, but here's the thing. The stories that we got today, I have a method that I use, right? And it is a it just works. It's been working for me for 6 years. 6 years next month.
Oh,
next
happy
month.
anniversary.
It's crazy, yeah. Or no, I'm sorry. Next it would be in April.
Oh, okay.
On my mother's birthday.
Oh, nice.
So I have a method I use, and there were 3 different sets of stories, and each one of these people had quite a few experiences, and so I just did this method that I do to weed out and pick out which ones I see. Tony, where's Scorpion D at? They're not in. They're not hanging out.
I'll send them.
Because I want all the moderators in here so I can say what I got to say about that. And Scorp is definitely the one that needs to hear it. I didn't really get to talk to him much today. So I do this method, and I put the 3 in front of me on the computer, and I just go any, mini, miny, mo. You know,
The tried and true method.
Which story on the show?
Backed
you know,
by years of peer-reviewed science.
It is.
It's foolproof.
And as peered review is Nelly, Anthony, Tony, and my brother. That's a
Yeah.
peered review.
Yeah.
Lucifer ZL1.
Holy moly.
Oh, dang. That's a huge.
I appreciate the donation, but I'm not really digging the name, man. I don't not really down with that.
We're just gonna have to call you Lucy.
Are you down with the Super Devil? Because that's the one that's been causing a lot of problems. He's been riding his motorcycle through the neighborhood.
No. See, that's why he's here, because we are the devil worshippers.
Oh,
so he's
obviously
by recommendation of the.
He worships Leviathan like us.
Yeah, well, no, because Leviathan is different than the Lucifer.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You know, somebody actually sent me a message. This is crazy. They sent me an email. What was yesterday? Monday. It was Monday, day before yesterday, and they sent me a scathing message talking bad.
where?
But like, I actually follow the Leviathan.
Oh,
I didn't know this was a thing. I thought that it was just part of the unholy, the four directions.
Oh,
Right, of Satanism.
I didn't know there was a.
But
direction.
he's a follower of Leviathan, and he's not from here. He's from New Zealand,
Mhm.
but he's like, my curses can reach around the world.
Come back and slap you in the face.
And I was like, and so me being a perennial smartass, I was like, one of those little, the idea to me came up with those little, you get them in the gumball machines with the sticky hand,
Huh.
where you just like sling it and you hit something. I got really good with those. I had 3 or 4 of them, man.
Oh, I love those. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're great. And you slap something and it just, pow, pow,
Mhm.
And so me and my friend Ronnie, when we were kids, we actually made up a game. Me, him, and David, my 3 friends. There were 3 of us, or 3 friends that I had, and Tommy. And we had those, and we would set up our GI Joes, and we would slap the GI Joe because we had the little stands,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you would slap it and knock them down, and be like, "I'm going to knock down, Breaker. Psh, oh yeah, well I'm going to knock down Steeler. Boom,
Yeah.
and that's how we would play. And if you knock down a couple of them, then so be it. And so that's kind of how we would do this, because otherwise it doesn't work when you play with your friends. It's never like the cartoon where they're like, they're doing it all polite. No, there's always some kid that just takes one of the vehicles and just slams it into
Yeah.
and it's basically
Some
a
ogre
protest.
kid.
A protest is being run over by a crazy driver, And so I said, this is not how I want to play. So we came up with an idea. We picked the different characters, and then we set them up, and the last one standing wins. So I just thought of that, and I said, is this like one of those sticky hands? Are you going to reach out and slap me? And he goes, keep being cute. He goes, I could do this, I could do that, and he's like, I'm a master of the sea. And I'm like, you're a master of the sea?
Probably can't even swim.
I was like, dude, well, he's from New Zealand. He probably is. I said, do you need to swim way out there about, I'd say a couple hundred yards, and just wade out there and become one with the ocean. And he's like, you're trying to trick me. And I was like, yeah, because New Zealand is known for some of the most aggressive great whites in the entire world. So if you're a master of the sea, great whites are in the sea. And now, because of what's happened in South Africa, get this, folks, because these orcas, they've decimated. There was a stronghold for decades, maybe centuries, a breeding ground for great whites. And these 2 orcas came in and they killed so many great whites and ate their livers.
Ooh.
This is true, that they left, and now they've kind of showed up in New Zealand. And there's these researchers that are saying they're not residents there. They don't belong there. They're like, you're not supposed to be here. Now, these New Zealand great whites, some of them, they look more like darker gray blue on top.
Mhm.
So they're distinctly different than the ones that are coming in. But they think that they relocated because of the orcas.
Whoa.
But now there's just a ton of them. Just out there in the water. And so I'm thinking, man, it's, if you really want to test your mettle, and he calls himself Leviathan.
Mhm.
Or no, I'm sorry, Leviathan. So Leviathan, if you're really you're a badass, you should go out there with an inner tube and just float around out in the water
And beat up the sharks.
Float around.
when the sharks come to splash, and tell them, hey, calm down.
Put a curse on them sharks.
I am down with Leviathan.
Oh, it's his license plate number, and it's on his car. He has a Chevy Camaro.
Who?
I'll allow it since you have a Camaro. Lucifer.
That's not his license plate. That's a long license plate. That's
No, it really is. Here, I'll show you. Let me show you.
okay.
Channel. There you go.
Yeah, but he put that on there. Who puts Lucifer on the
Well,
license plate?
maybe he's a fan of Cinderella and the cat.
Yeah, well, Lucifer or whatever you want to. I'm gonna call you LZ1 or whatever. Look,
Yes,
man,
L
I
is the L.
appreciate the donation, but I honestly am not down with Luciferianism. Okay, I really am not, man. So if that's what you're looking for, that's really not, what we're about. I'm a born again Christian, and my brother is a former Satanist. Now, Luciferianism is not necessarily Satanism, and I know that. Huh?
What is it?
Well, Satanism is like do what thou wilt, and a lot of Satanists don't actually even believe in the devil, and Luciferians actually believe in Lucifer as the morning star. He was the light. He rebelled against God because God was evil. Now, there is this debate whether or not the one true living God, the Father of Christ, is the same God that Lucifer rebelled against. And then it gets real convoluted when you start getting into like the Yazidis. They are a type of, what are they called? Kurdish people. And they worship Lucifer as the, what do you call it? The peacock god. Now, what they believe is interesting because what they believe is that God, he is the God of this world, but that he was corrupted and he was angry against the one true living God, and the one true living God gave him the power to control this world, but he forgave him for his rebellion. The Muslims have done a lot of work in eradicating them for their belief.
Yeah.
So things get a little weird there, you know. Yeah. So anyways, we got 300 people in the chat. Let's get started here. So I got a guy reach out to me. Thank you for the donations, Kelly Sandiford.
Joe Tupac.
We were actually $175 away from our goal because we needed to get an operation for little Timmy next door. Now, Timmy has vampirism, and we're trying to cure him. And he can't do it without your help, folks. All right?
We got to buy a lot of garlic. Not that cheap stuff either.
No, this can't be the
the
bulk from China.
non-GMO, organic,
No.
grass-fed Kobe garlic.
We don't want those cheap bulbs from China. Right? You know what happens if you eat those from China? You bro up.
That cruelty-free garlic doesn't come
little
cheap.
China bulb.
Yeah, you bro up. And I don't mean like explode. I mean like you bro up. You're like, you walk out the house and you're like, bro, what's up? Totally, bro. And you talk like that for an entire week after eating it. Do you want that?
Free range.
Is that what you want?
Is that what you want for little Timmy?
Timmy doesn't want that. Mm-mm. Little Timmy, they're like, what's his last name if he's a real guy? You're like, Timmy Sparkles and his mother Shackley. They are ill. I will say this. We do have a weird ass neighbor.
That one or that one?
Not the ones that are screaming, yelling, playing drums. Those are just normal people. I'm talking about the other ones.
Yes.
They don't come out
I still
during the
haven't
day.
seen 'em.
We have my cousin that comes and works on the house during the day. He's seen them once. He wasn't sparkling, but we've heard some really weird noises around the neighborhood. And the only lights we've ever seen on at night are purple black lights.
Yes.
Am I joking? We're not even kidding about this.
I don't see lights on during the day, at night,
Mhm.
nothing. Except this purple black light that you can only see at night.
Mhm. It is quite odd.
Yeah.
You know, one time our dog was howling, and I just heard somebody open a window and go, "What's the music he makes?" I'm like, "Oh, cool, thank you." He's bulky, but we consider him carry on. No, no, that didn't happen. He hasn't talked to us. He walked out. He's completely bald, and it looks like he has almost like alopecia or something.
Oh, now I feel bad. Poor guy.
Don't. He walked out and he looked at our cousin and was like, "Yeah," and then walked back in. Yeah,
didn't know
It
that.
was weird. I don't want to scare you because you'll be freaked out.
Well, now
Next
that
thing
I
you
know
you
right
can
now,
holes through the wall with the shotguns.
I heard the neighbor move.
Yeah. It's like, sorry, I had to take that 12 gauge and throw some slugs through the wall.
It happens.
Yeah,
Blow
Count
it.
Orlok. Count Orlok came out and was like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Lolo.
We're throwing slugs over here. I'm going to tell you this, though. When I read, there were two people's stories that I was going to. Arlene, I will get to yours. I told you that I was going to maybe tell it tonight, but I'll tell it on Sunday. But Aaron, your story was was fascinating. And not that Arlene's was not as fascinating, but we just did a pretty terrifying Dogman encounter on Sunday. And boy, was it I mean,
Yeah.
if it's, to be believed, which I do believe it. And I'm not telling you what to do. I mean, first message I got after the show is like, I don't believe none of that crap. And I'm like, okay, good for you. That is completely within your right as an American. America, right? You can believe what you want to believe. You can also believe that what's happening now, that there was no waste, that the government was completely on the up and up. You said it was straight face.
That it ran efficiently and there was no inflation.
Yeah, and the Clintons have no body count.
Yes, Joanne.
If you believe that, I'll throw the Golden Gate in for free. That's what I'm saying. I have some oceanfront property right there. Flagstaff. It's right there.
Got some
I want to see this.
property down in
Well,
Arizona
you didn't
Bay.
tell me that. Yeah.
Did you read what Lola
The
wrote?
Gulf of America. Right? Somebody says Gulf of America. Brand 447. Gulf of America. F yeah. Coming through. Say the mother freaking day. Yeah. That's what happened. Team America. Gulf Police. What is it? I can't just read it. I don't know what you're.
Lolo
there's so
donated
much.
for Timmy.
For Timmy.
Get him the good stuff, please.
because my enemies are like, investigate them. They asked for money for cameras, which we got, and we have one. And then we had to get lawyers. They said, where'd the money for the lawyers go? You know where it went? I'll tell you exactly where it went. The guy next door, his name is Darwin McKee. You can look him up. He's my lawyer. I can give you his name. And we had a bunch of cease and desists. And you know what they did? They burned them. And they continued on with their crap. Now, that is really bad for them if we were to sue them. The good part for them and the bad part for us is that they don't have anything. Because they don't work. Only one of them had a real job.
Which one?
The trucker.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of them didn't have a real job. So what are we supposed to do? So we wasted our money on cease and desist, and then we thought, well, we're going to save up money. But it really doesn't matter because there's all kinds of needs that come with running this show. We need all kinds of crap for this show. We need a lot of upgrades for a lot of stuff. We have one of the cameras. We have somebody, in fact, Excalibur, who's not on here right now.
No, she isn't.
I think she might be in there. Excalibur can say she wants to sell us some cameras for $2,000. So we now have two. We have two cameras. Didn't we get one from Tara?
Uh-huh.
So Tara, and we need two more. So we're gonna get those cameras. They're $2,000 from Excalibur. So I told Excalibur, once I get the $2,000, I will send you the money. And these people are talking about, we need to investigate the Turners. Where is this money going? They act like the donations are just pouring in. It's like rain, make it rain. It's not happening, dude. Now, if you go and check out my OnlyFans, where I show you quite a bit of skin, I got my pant leg all up to my knee. I look at it and I'm going like, hey, man, I mean, I'm not gay, but.
Oh, this is where the scary story
This
starts.
dude's pretty hot. Oh, it's me. Woo. Thank goodness. That's real hot. A little wolf on wolf action. Yeah.
Y'all thought Dogman was scary.
Can you imagine kissing somebody with a beard? I guess women do it all the time, but it just, and no offense if you're that way, but come on, really? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with a beard and a mustache?
It's very hard, honey. Just kidding.
Is it? Nellie's like, it's horrible.
The problem comes in when
Melissa, JT got them hot legs. He got them hot legs. Put a little barbecue sauce on them hot legs. Anyway, enough's enough. So I got so that's where the money goes. We misappropriated funds. We just need the money to get our cameras so we can go and do this stuff. Because come spring, we got to go to Cistern to look for this guy.
Well,
Not the same guy with the flag. I'm just saying there's a Bigfoot out there.
it would be cool to find that one though.
He's just walking around with his peace sign and his.
Have a beer with him.
If you really, truly, absolutely saw that and you took a picture, everybody would be like, it's fake.
Yeah.
It's fake. There's no way he would be carrying that.
I mean, I
Texas
wouldn't
flag.
blame him.
Everybody knows that Bigfoot is left-handed. Lebanese women. Well, you know what? Some Lebanese women are very beautiful. They're very beautiful women.
They are.
I know some Italian women do too. Like when I was young, I'm like in my late teens. My friend's mother was a very, very beautiful woman. I mean, she was really pretty. She was from southern Italy. Like they were Italian. I'm not gonna say his name because he'll know exactly who I'm talking. He ended up moving to Argentina though.
Now
he
he's
lived
gonna
there
know.
for years. No, he's indisposed at the moment. Let's put it that way. He got locked up. All right. Zune says, "Breathe, Nelly, breathe." So his mother had a mustache. She was very pretty, but if you got close to her, you could see
I like how you got that lined up right there.
she had a mustache. But what that is that's a testosterone. But
Oh.
women who have a high testosterone have a high sex drive. That's a true thing. That's an actual true thing.
I believe it.
So anyway, but not all Italian women. There's Italian women are beautiful. Lebanese
Oh,
women
yeah.
are beautiful. Hispanic women are beautiful. Women are just beautiful, and I don't understand how they're attracted.
They're beautiful
to
as long
guys.
as they're beautiful.
How can you look at a guy and be like that hairy thing? Look at that hairy beast. He's sexy. Ah, boy. I just can't understand it. I don't get it. But that's, I'm not a woman. Men smell. You ever been in a locker room with men?
And it's
Holy
illegal for you to be a woman now.
Crap,
You can't do
it's
it anymore.
unbelievable. The bearded lady at the fair was a fan. Yeah, exactly, Alan. I asked. So we got enough people in here. Let's get this banging here. Here we go. So Aaron is from Louisville, Kentucky, and he had been living there for 20. Oh, sorry, my notes out here. It was about to be. Sorry, I didn't have them pulled up here. Oh, that's not it. So he had been living there for 26 years. 26 years. Oh, 16 years. 16 years. Let me get your crap together. So he'd been living there for 16 years. It was his grandmother's house. It's an older neighborhood, and it was in a black community, the black part of the community. What in the hell? My phone keeps falling, dude. It's not.
Do you want a holder?
Do you have one?
I
No,
can-
you only have that one that Tony bought. But no, that's fine. No, I'm good.
Okay.
So I'm going to set it up right here, but I don't want to block the, because on my screen, all I have is probably what you guys see, but I have the chat right here. So I'm going to put my phone, I'm going to set my phone up so I can read the notes, but I don't write up everything. I just hit the click, like key points. So 16 years he lived there. He had gone to live there when he got out of the military. He was overseas in the military, and this happened in 2008. And so I guess he moved there when he got out. Now he was been living there for 16 years. This story was given to me in 2024, November. And we communicated back in December, and then because let me just give you a little insight into how, and people on Patreon maybe have already heard this, I don't know. But I put down like this story is going to be for here. So I'm already like looking at like June. I think it's June now. And Anthony, you know how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already looking at like June on what stories I'm going to talk about and retell. And so this person was giving me this encounter, and I had like put it down like, okay, but then I bumped it up because of the stuff we've been talking about recently. And this person actually I reached out to him and I said, look, I know that I told you it was going to be several months down the road, but I want to go ahead and throw it in there. Can you give me some more insight? And all it took was an hour of just going through and just laying it down. It was unbelievable. And this man, he talked very straight and to the point. Now, he does have a bit of an impediment, a speech impediment. But and that's because he had an accident when he was working on an oil rig years ago. When so 16 years he's been living there with his grandmother. He goes, but this started, he goes, the second month I was there. He's like, someone moved in. His grandmother has since passed away. My condolences. She passed away in 2020. And so he's been there ever since, living on his own. And now he has a girlfriend that lives there who's basically now a common law wife. The people that this once involved are gone. But this is to me is creepy. This is scary in a way that I am convinced this could happen to anybody. And it's because of the people you live around. It's a good reason to not live in an apartment. He had a neighbor on one side. The guy had been there forever. He was, about 10 years older than his grandmother, and he had passed away. And luckily, one of his nephews had taken over the house, and they got along great. He was like, I knew this guy. We grew up together. Everybody was cool. He goes, we were out on the porch, and he was having a barbecue. The other neighbor, the neighbor that lives to his right, if you're facing the house, it would be to his left. But if you're facing, if you're on the porch, he's like, my guy to my right there. He's like, people to the left, weird. The lady that lived there for years, she had passed away. Her grandchildren and her children had passed away too. One of them had had a heart attack. Another one had died of cancer. And then there was another one that went missing. And they never found him. So the grandchildren got together and they sold the house and they split the money. And he said, to this day, I'm still friends with one of them, and he would see her at the local Greasy Spoon Cafe there. Here's what happened. He goes, it was the second month that they were moving in. He goes, and these people, he said, they moved in under the cover of darkness. That's the way he worded it in the email. And I was like, the cover of darkness. I said, is this because you were in the military? He goes, no, man. He goes, they snuck in, at night. We didn't see these people. I wake up and they're there. There's a Ryder truck and then it's gone, He's like, and then he goes, for like 2 weeks, he goes, I was being a nosy neighbor, and he's a pretty large African-American guy. And it's funny to hear him kind of talk, like him tiptoeing around trying to, I said, how much do you weigh? And Aaron says, about 350. I said, you weigh about 350. You're probably a biscuit shy of 360 like me. So we kind of joked about being big and sneaking around because I do it all the time. When I'm peeping Tomming, I'm like, it's hard to do when you're big like me, especially when you're wearing fluorescent pants. I don't recommend it. I have that adventurous spirit in me, I want to take chances. You only live once. I play Lenny Kravitz. I want to get away. And then I go out creeping around the neighborhood. I'm too damn tired for that. So Aaron and me kind of hit it off. We're big dudes, and the way that when we talked, he said, look, man, he's like, I'm going to tell you right now. He's like, there was weird noises coming from their house. Really weird. I said, like what? He goes, like screams. He's like a woman screaming. He's like, and so my granny, she was over there. My auntie was there. My auntie's real, as in Spanish, we would call it chismosa. She likes to gossip and talk. She goes, they over there doing something. Something ain't right. It ain't right. It ain't fitting. It ain't fitting, So she was complaining. And so Granny was like, okay, we call the police. So they call the police. The police come and they're like, what do you want us to do? They come to the door. They're weird, So he had one of the cops. He kind of took him to the side. He says, look, man, I'm an Iraqi veteran. He goes, what's going on over there? And he goes, what do they look like? This was the third month already after this had been going on. The second month was when it really started getting weird. He said third month, they were never out during the daytime, never out outside during the day. He said, we'd catch glimpses of them at night. He goes, but they would wear like a hood or a jacket. It ain't that damn cold. He's like, it's March. And they're running to the car and they take off. We can't even tell what they look like. He's like, and me and my friend next door, we're trying. He was Byron, was his best friend. Byron, I didn't get to talk to him, but he sent me a little thing about it to confirm. Him and Byron were trying to figure out who the hell these people were and what they were doing, what they were up to. This gets really weird, folks, okay? Follow me, all right? So he starts, there's a spare bedroom. He starts to stay in there. He goes, I moved my weights in there. And he's like, and I'd leave the window open. I said, you were spying. He goes, yes.
Multitasking.
He's like, I'm doing biceps and I'm looking out the window. I'm waiting to see somebody. He said, and then one of the cops, he said and it's in his words, he says, a brother came over, His exact words were soul patrol. So he told me, he says, these two black cops came, and he goes, they were real cool. They were real cool. And he goes, but there was another cop. He goes, and he was just a white guy, but he had told me, they're white people. What do you want to know? So these black cops came because there was the other neighbor on the other side had heard the yelling and had complained. that there was a woman shrieking. So these cops asked to come inside because they heard something in the back that they had probable cause. When they went inside the house, everything was normal. There was no sound, no nothing, and they were like, "Look, this is bordering on harassment." When they came out, these two black cops talked to Aaron, and Aaron says, "Come here, now let me talk to y'all." He goes, "What's going on here?" He says, "We got a call of somebody." He goes, "I've heard this. I've called many times. Sometimes y'all come out, sometimes you don't." So he talked to these guys, man. He goes, "I was excited. I was glad to see that there were two black cops there. Maybe they would make a difference." He goes, "It didn't do anything. There wasn't no difference between the white cop and the black cop." He goes, "They didn't want to help me." He's like, "I'm convinced that they are doing something over there to someone. Something is happening over there." And they're like, "What proof do you have?" He goes, "Well, I'll be working out at night, in my workout room, and I'll hear someone scream." He's like, "Okay." So what the cops did do, even though it's a rough neighborhood, Louisville can be a very rough place, according to what he was telling me. I've only driven through there one time, so I can't really attest. But he said that they started parking right there on the curb. The cops would come and they'd sit there for a couple hours. These people started to get aggravated. So one day he says, this man is standing out and the garage door was open and he was like, "Holy crap." He goes, "I come back from the grocery store. I say, 'Here you go, Granny. Take this stuff inside.'" And I said, "What? You made her carry all the groceries?" He goes, "It was a bag. There's one bag." He said, I don't want her to, he goes, "I walk up to the, he goes, no lie. This guy turns around and he's wearing this mask." Now, you got to remember, folks, this is pre-COVID. This is not a COVID mask. This was 2008, right? He turns around, he goes, he's wearing this weird looking like gas mask or something. He's like, and then he goes, I start looking, he goes, and there's a woman sitting in a chair and she's wearing like some sort of latex looking whatever. And the dude closes the garage really quickly. And he starts to, the gears start turning in his head and he goes, "Oh my gosh. I think these people are just freaks." This is what he told me. He goes, "Freaks, right? They're freaks." And I go, "You mean freak show?" I was trying to get him to tell me exactly what kind of freaks, because I'm not, He goes, he calls me Wolf. He says, "Come on, Wolf. You know what I'm talking about." I said, "Oh, snap. Okay. Yes. Freaks. Okay. So they were doing something. They were doing some stuff, right? But that's not illegal."
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of figured it out. So he kind of quit being snoopy, nosy. He goes, and then Shanti comes. Now, Shanti is his cousin, or Shante, sorry. And Shante is a troublemaker who's always having problems, who accidentally took her mother's ATM card and rang up a bunch of stuff. "Oh, I thought it was mine." You know what I mean? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He goes, that kind of person. He's like, we didn't get along because she was just there to booch up my grandma. He's like, I was paying the bills. I was taking care of Granny. And then this woman comes along. She's my little cousin, but she's a troublemaker. She don't play by the rules, right? So, but she's out in the back patio partaking of the devil's lettuce, according to what he told me. He says, I go out in the back patio, and she had this little dog. And the little dog would poop and pee on the porch. Big old backyard. The dog's like, I'm going to play in the backyard. I'm going to run up and I'm going to poop and pee on the porch. You step on in your socks. I can relate. And I said, I know the struggle, brother. That's what happens, especially when they're puppies. He goes, this dog was 3 years old. I said, okay, no excuse. So he goes out there. He goes, this little yappy dog. Hey, you know, he said it. This little yappy dog. He goes, pick it up, put it in my face, and it don't start yapping. It knows me, and it's still yapping. He goes, you go down, sit down, eat dinner, the dog's still yapping. It don't stop. It's just a little yappy dog. And he said, but this dog was scared. It was a fearless little dog. He said, but it was scared to go to the fence by the neighbors. He goes, and finally, he goes, what I thought could be something was weird. It wasn't just them screaming and yelling. he says, Shante hears something, and it sounded like a weird growl. And he goes, look, they freaks, man. They're freaks, whatever. She goes, oh, really? She goes, let me tell you what I saw yesterday. She says, they have a dog in the backyard. He goes, yeah. She said, that dog was different than the way it looks today. He looks in the backyard. There is a Doberman Pinscher, just like a brown and black Doberman Pinscher. I know I've trained them. I know what they look like. This Doberman did not look like that. She said yesterday, she goes, I saw the same dog and it was all black and its head was bigger. And it was chained the same way. She's like, and when it stood up, its body was weird. Like the limbs were too long. It did not make sense. So he was like, what is going on here? He goes, really? And then he says, he goes, this is funny. He said, man, shut up and stop smoking that. I walked back inside. I got no time for this chicken head with the smoking and the crap and all that, And he goes, I just went inside. I'm like, shut up. He's like, he's like, I come home one night from work. He goes, because that's something she don't do. He goes, I work. She plays around and gets guys to pay for her bills. I go, do they pay the bills? He goes, yeah. I said, well, she works. To each their own, Aaron, to each their own. Don't be so hard. But anyway, it's funny when he says, this isn't going on now. This was back then. And he says, he goes, I come home like, and she's like, come here. I can tell you something. And he's like, what? It's like midnight. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I don't have time for this. She goes, look in the backyard. Go look in the backyard. And he's like, I can't understand you. She's like, look in the backyard, fool. And so then he's like, you're being too loud. So he goes to the backyard. They're standing there. And he goes, take that yappy dog. Leave it. Don't bring it out here. Right? Because it's going to. This is what they both saw. There was what looks like a dog laying in the backyard, but it was elongated like a human. It was all black, and it was laying on its side, and it was very human looking. The dog was completely black, and she goes, that's what I saw the other day. And she's like, and then he says this thing kind of rolled over, and when it did, he goes, it was like it was asleep. He's like, but when it turned its head, he goes, the head kind of turned in our direction. He said it was laying there like a dog. He goes, but it was dark. He couldn't really, he's like, but they had those motion lights, right? And he said when he walked over to the fence kind of to look over, because the porch, you could kind of see the motion detector caught him on there, and and he was looking over the fence. He got down. He's like, this thing opened its eyes and was looking at them. He's like, and then he goes, we run back inside the house. He's like, and then I hear this growling, barking, snapping. He goes, and I see this dog head looking thing looking over the fence, but it's not the dog. It's not that black Doberman Pinscher. He's like, I don't know what that is, but it's over the fence. He's like, and the worst part about it, Wolf, he says, is there was these black hands that were hanging over the fence, and these people, their lights came on and they came out the back. He's like, and I see for the first time, after all these months, this was months down, like 5-6 months, right? He says, I see the guy. And what he tells me, it gave me chills. He says, this guy's wearing like this black robe or cloak or something. He's like, and his head is bald. He's a white guy. He's like, but you could see like weird looking veins going down the side of his head. He goes, he just looked weird. His ears, he had these backward pointing ears. He's like, and he goes, and he turned and he looked, and he was wearing these black goggle looking things. He's like, and the person's lips looked blue. He goes, I kid you not. He's like, if that was a human being, he goes, I don't know what the hell that was. He said, when I was in Iraq, I came across some very weird stuff. I turned him on to Abe Sias's channel because Abe was an Iraqi veteran. And, you know, he was in the Gulf War. Not the same as this engagement where he was at. He was in the second, you know, war. But he's, yeah. Under Fire says, you opened the cube, we came. Yeah, exactly. And that's funny you say that because that was later on one of the questions I asked. I said, what are these people, Cenobites? And he goes, what is that? I said, from Hellraiser. He goes, oh, I know. He's like, that crossed my mind. He's like, me and my cousin and my cousin's boyfriend who was always coming around. And he goes, I got to know him. He goes, we called him Chubby. He goes, and me and Chubby would play video games and stuff. And she'd be back there griping. Why are you coming to bed? It's 2 a.m. And he's like, why, you ain't working? Why are you in bed? It's 2 o'clock. Why ain't you out doing something productive, like working? And he goes, and me and Chubby got along because he worked. He was a working guy, and he worked the swing shift like I did. And he said eventually, he goes, I got a job with him working at his company. He's like, and so we'd ride together to work. And then eventually they took over that spare bedroom. He goes, and because we had the garage made into like a bedroom, right? That's where he stayed. But there were 2 bedrooms. And so they took over that spare bedroom and they were living there. And he said, Granny was always like, y'all are living in sin. Where's my rent? You know, it's like, you're going to live in sin. You're going to pay rent. You're going to pay rent. Just letting you know you're going to hell. But you're going to pay rent while you're here. And so he said, but my grandma, he goes, she was pretty hard. And she goes, y'all need to leave those people alone. He goes, and grandma was watching TV. He's like, and we knew she'd go to bed about 8 or 9. She went to bed early. He said, but between like 4 and like 7 o'clock until she got up to make dinner, he goes, and then by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at the latest, she was in bed. He's like, he goes, you knew. That was her time to watch the TV, the big TV. You don't mess with grandma's big TV time. You just leave it alone. Let her watch her TV. He said, if you being loud, whatever, because we'd be out on the porch. And so he said, we'd be out on the porch. He goes, and we're all talking about these weird people, you know. He goes, and my cousin Jermaine comes over, and he's like, y'all just talking about them because they white people. And then he goes, no, dude. He goes, I got white friends. He's like, one of my best friends is white. He don't look like that. He's like, I don't know what that is. He goes, that's not a white man. That is something else. He's like, and my granny opens the door. He goes, and just out of the blue, she says, y'all gonna wake them vampires up. And he turns around and he's like, Granny, what are you talking about? She goes, y'all know what them is. Why y'all over here messing with them? Those ain't white folks. Those are vampires. Then when they go to eat dinner that night, and his cousin's there, Jermaine's there, and the grandma. He said, my grandma loved him. That was like her favorite. He was like, he works at a bank. He works at a bank. And he's like, it ain't like he's running the bank. He's just a bank teller.
Yeah.
And he's probably trying to rob it. That's what he said. And Granny's like, he's the best. You know, he always got that one cousin that you got to compete with.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, a couple fires and you know, an axe later, there's no more problems with that person. You ain't got to worry about it no more. They stop. They quit coming around. You know how it goes. You know how it goes, right? You run them off. I'm joking. I was the favorite. My grandma loved me. It was just that my parents didn't. I used to be like, why don't y'all love me? You got grandma to love you. Why are you greedy? Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy with all the loves. Okay, fine. You got an aunt and uncle that love you too, right? You always want birthday presents. They give you presents. Why you asking for more? Work hard. Yeah, but see, that was it. You know, it was so he goes, grandma was always about Jermaine. Like, Jermaine works at a bank. Like he was, you know, whoopee-doo. And he says, so he goes, we were there, and he goes, and my grandmother, we sit down at the table, and he goes, my cousin, thank goodness he asked, because if I asked my grandma, I'd probably just be like, don't be asking no questions, pass the biscuits. He's like, but the cousin, Jermaine, asked her, he's like, Granny, what you mean vampires? What are you talking about? She's like, well, you know, I used to stay in New Orleans years ago. She's like, I lived in Nashville and then I lived in New Orleans, you know, with your grandpa. Grandpa was from, you know, Louisiana. And they were like, yeah. And she's like, well, when we first started dating, that's where we were at, and he was in the military at one point, and then he retired, and he had a store. He opened up a store down what they call the Bywater or whatever. I don't know what it's called, something. And she said that he told her, he said, there are two things you have to know about New Orleans. He's like, voodoo and vampires. Honest. She said, for real, they really exist, and there are a bunch of them down here. And he knew them. And even went so far as to say that they had kind of their own clique, sort of like their own mafia down there. And that they had been there for a long time. And these hailed from these French aristocratic families that had come down and had lived there for a long time. And they had been around for years. And everybody just kind of took it for granted if you were a local. She's like, I never could get used to it. She's like, and in fact, there were a couple of them that started threatening your grandfather. She goes, and one of them, I saw him. She goes, he looked like one of those people. She's like, so don't mess with those people, because where there's one, there's more. She's like, they're like cockroaches. And she's like, and don't be messing around. She goes, one of y'all is going to get snatched up and nobody's ever going to see or hear from you again. And they'll never find you. Now, when I was doing this show, I talked to you about a person named Eve. Eve's husband his name is Joe, and Joe and me talked recently. And Joe, I'm going to say this publicly, so something people can't, Joe had told me point blank. He says, dude, these people, there was a woman that I read about recently. She was a journalist. And what's so crazy about this is whenever I try to research something about this, you guys know, Nellie, Anthony, I got a mind like a steel trap. When somebody tells me something, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
But for some reason, I'm having a hard time retaining the information from this.
That's
and
spooky.
I have to,
That's spooky.
I have to go back and read it 3 or 4 times. Please do your own research on this. There is a woman that went missing back in the 90s. She was a journalist. I can't remember her name, and I've read it twice already. In preparation for the show, I didn't read it today. It was on Monday when I read it, but it was back in the 90s. She got a little too curious, and she's never been found. Now, that is one person, and I think that there's a lot more, and I think what they do is I want to say it's a type of spell casting that they do, but I think it's on a mass scale to where we don't know, when we don't remember and we don't follow, and they throw off your train of thought. They influence and they mess with you. I'm telling you the absolute truth, because it's so weird that I've read this twice and I can't even remember. I can't even remember where I read it. And that makes 0 sense for me. It's 0. Okay.
Do you think that they can sense
You
somebody?
gotta speak up
Do you
and
think
go for
that
the
they
microphone.
can sense somebody learning about them, and
I do.
then they can tap into that and then cause confusion?
Yeah.
Oof.
I do. Yeah, Barry says she was investigating a werewolf cult. No, that's a different one. If you're talking about the raid that they did on the werewolf thing, it was just a blip and then they didn't talk about it again. No, this woman was investigating a vampire coven. And she went missing. She was going to these nightclubs and to these places, and she had gone to New Orleans and some other places. Now, according to this person's grandmother, she said that these people living next door, she goes, it could be a coincidence, it might not, but these people had gotten their grandfather had run afoul of some people in New Orleans, and so he relocated to Nashville. But they eventually found him in Nashville. And she said he had been dead for several years. She didn't think that it was connected, but she's like, I know a vampire when I see one. She's like, some of them, they just look like people. She goes, but the older ones, the ones in charge, she goes, they look like that. And he was like, so Aaron was like, Granny, you saw one? You saw that guy? She's like, oh, yeah. I've seen him a couple times. She's like, he made it a point to show himself to me. Whereas he was almost hiding from the others. Now, in Aaron's defense, he does sleep during the day, just like the vampires. But he's like, you know, when I'm out at night, you think they'd be coming out. He goes, but they don't really come out. He's like, the vehicle never moves. And then I told him this. I said, some of them don't need vehicles, bro. That's a very human thing. And when you become one of these beings, you really cease to be a human. He who chooses to make a beast of himself ceases to have the pain of being a man. Right? I don't even remember who said that. Look it up. I can't remember. But it is interesting when you stop and you think about this, you know, and I had a lot of fun talking to this guy. He was a really interesting dude. He had an interesting life. A lot of weird stuff happened to him in Iraq, too. He saw these shadow beings in one of the places he was in. He also, some of the people in his squad, some of the people in his unit claimed to have seen what they called a Saluea, which is a werewolf, a female shapeshifter. And was it Hunter Thompson, or was he quoting somebody in that book, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Which, if you read the book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, it is that's about vampirism too. It's about the harvesting of adrenochrome and what these people do. A lot of people believe that he was going to be killed, which is why he went and hid up in the mountains, and then he took he did it his own way. They say he killed himself. Well, who knows? They were probably coming for him anyway, because he had witnessed a lot of things. People that were close to him claimed that he knew way too much about the Illuminati. So that's interesting. But there were clues in the movie. If you look at the movie, there are clues. What's going on?
Oh, JFA gave you some names. Any of them?
Yeah. No, this person, was it Susan Walsh? I don't know. Yeah, she went missing. I think it was her. See, I can't. That didn't even ring a bell to me, even though I read it twice. That's not like me.
Scary.
I can read, Nelly. You know, I can
I
read
know.
something one time and it's programmed in.
It's actually unnerving me.
Weird stuff. There's even a scene in Fear and Loathing where, because we could break that movie down, like, I mean, where he's talking about
Bats?
the lizards.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, and some of them, someone's giving booze to these damn things, and they're like,
Yeah.
and it's kind of a funny thing, but he's seeing them as reptilians, which would be the Vril, which is the reptilian vampire. You know, this is going to sound completely off the chain, and we're going to post this on the Random Files. It was something that Nelly that's her channel. Check out the Random Files. We're going to start posting on there regularly. It's going to be me and her back and forth, just posting short stuff with information and then little short encounters. Because, as you know, for every one big encounter we have like 100 little ones. And when you've just been in so many chats and been around so much stuff, you pick up tons of stories. Hold on one second, folks.
And me too.
So what we have is this weird wolf-like, dog-headed whatever. And that's not what was in the backyard. What was in the backyard was a black Doberman Pinscher, right? So they had this weird conversation with Granny. So he decides one evening when he comes home from work, he's like, I'm sitting there, I got some food, you know, and I'm getting ready to go eat. And he goes, and as hungry as I am, I just put the food on the back of the car. He's like, and I walk over to the neighbor's house and I just start banging on the door. I said, did they answer? He goes, no. He's like, but I stood there, and I'm like, I stood out in their front yard. He goes, and my neighbor Byron, he comes over. He comes walking down the sidewalk. He goes, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I'm trying to get these people to come out and talk to me. I want to know what they want." His grandmother had started having bad dreams. One of the dreams that she had was that something was standing at the foot of her bed at night, hovering, floating. A cloaked entity with a skull-like face and big fangs. Another thing she saw was a wolf-like creature standing in the backyard. She had a little garden back there, and she was coming out of the shed, and it was facing the opposite direction, but she could see the ears and the tail, and she went back in the shed until it literally walked out of the fence and walked around and went to the other side and went into the neighbors. When questioned by Chubby, which eventually became Shantae's husband, he told her, he says that, he asked her about it. She told him that she thought it was a werewolf, that's what it looked like. Now, folks, you got to remember, this is in the middle of an African-American community in the city of Louisville. This is not in the middle of the country. This isn't in the countryside. To me, this tells you if these things can happen right there in the middle of the quote-unquote hood, this can happen anywhere. This happens in middle America. This happens in the middle of cities. It happens in the suburbs. It happens in New York City. I'm about to do some stories on paranormal stuff that happens in New York City. I literally counted 21 stories from, what's up?
What are they like? Like,
You're gonna have to get
Oh,
put
can
your
you?
microphone closer to you, baby.
can you see me? I mean,
Yeah.
see me.
I could see you. Let's see if I can move,
like,
move the camera over.
Is it just like one type of?
You're hidden by the.
Oh, my thing. Hello. No, is it like one type of thing, or what kind of subjects of?
For New York?
Mhm.
No, they were all different.
Like the giant rats and
Yeah,
stuff.
and there was a small file with 7 different stories in there. But when I was scouring stories on Saturday, I just started throwing them. You know how I was in there for hours.
Mhm.
I just started throwing them over into that. Every time New York City popped up, I just threw them in there. So I still haven't even gone. There was 21 stories in there now. But they haven't been fleshed out at all. And some of them date back all the way to 2019.
Wow.
Yeah, so we'll have to go over that.
I want to hear those.
But when you stop and you start looking at this, just take, objectively, I mean, you just stop and you look at it and say, hey, could this be happening? Could, yes. Is it probable? Probably not. It's probably not going to happen, but is it possible? Yes. You go swimming in the ocean. Thousands upon thousands of people go swimming in the ocean. But does everybody get bit by a shark? No. Are the sharks there? Yeah, they're there. Are they hungry? Well, it depends. And if they're hungry, are they going to bite you? If you're there and they're hungry, they might. Right? So I would be very careful and very cautious. Now, I'm not doing this show so everybody's terrified, going, yeah, there's a ghost, there's a Bigfoot demon, flying purple people eater in the air. No. Don't be afraid to get out of this and go to the Safeway or whatever, or the Kroger's or whatever grocery store you have, to go.
Randall's.
Huh?
Randall's.
Whatever grocery store you have, don't be afraid to go shopping. Okay. Although we did have a guy that worked at Walmart over there by the Pond Springs, lived in the apartment complex.
Yep.
He did a fire watch there.
Mhm.
He used to walk across the street until he saw that weird. That's creepy.
Tell them what you saw.
Huh?
Tell them what you saw.
Well, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but I will tell them eventually.
Okay.
So what happened with this guy? Like, I look at it like this. I mean, he asked me a couple times along the way. He goes, "You believe me, right?" And I said, "Yeah. I don't think you're putting me on, unless you're just Dean Koontz, a great storyteller, But I told him, I said, dude, I get stuff like this all the time. Before we go any further, folks, if your name is not in green, get it in green because you're going to want to do have it in green so we can do the giveaway. We have fire watches out the wazoo going right now, and those are because of the pipes bursting. Thank you so much for the pipes bursting from the cold snap. Thank you. The cold snap did a number
The
of
snap
people's
means your pipes busting.
pipes. Yeah, they snapped your pipes. So so this week is out. We're not going to be able to mail off, but we will mail off probably next Tuesday. So through this week and through the weekend, we're doing giveaways, and hopefully we'll get it all done. What's up, Danny Fowler? Haven't seen Danny in a while. What's up, Wedge, JFA, Two Shadows? Bunch of people in the chat. If I didn't say your name, I just I got to move on. But there's a lot of cool people in the chat tonight. Oh, it's over here. And people have asked me what that is. That's a deer. It's a staghorn. That's a staghorn that my cousin Clayton used to be a pitcher for Texas A&M. That's really his only flaw, as far as I'm concerned.
It's the raptor claw.
He made those for me at Christmas time.
That's so cool.
A few Christmases ago.
If you're listening, I want one next year.
Just message him and tell him to make you one. Or you know what? Better yet, tell Rich Sykes to tell Allison.
Oh yeah.
Allison's his doctor.
Thank you, Two Shadows.
Husband. That's her husband. And Rich Sykes is her patient. So Rich, if you're listening, just tell him, hey, tell Clayton to make me these bottle openers. Did you almost spill it?
Yes. Did you see that?
Not the tail end of it.
I caught it.
Could be bad. But so this thing escalates. Let's get into this. It escalates, right? He's out there yelling. His friend comes up, and then his friend tells him what he saw. He says, the other day, he's like, I was walking by. He goes, and I see a black SUV. He's like, and you can't see anything out of the front, out of the sides. But he goes, but for a second, I saw the front. And all I saw was this part of the person's face, and there was a hoodie, and I saw these black glasses, and their faces were white, and they looked identical. He's like, and I thought it was so bizarre. He goes, and then they drove off. As I started to be, and I was like, nosy. And he goes, that's how things get solved, Wolf, nosy people. And I said, yeah, people go missing for being nosy too. So I told Aaron, I said, you're lucky, man. You're real fortunate to still be here. And he goes, man, when it came to my granny, he goes, I wanted to know why these people moved right next door to my granny. Was it a coincidence, or were they looking for something? Get this. Now, I'm going to tell you this story, and it is incredible, but I don't know if this is the truth. I don't know. Not that he was lying. Nobody was lying about it. It's just what we kind of the conclusion we came to. It was in the backyard with his friends, and they were out there one night, and they were playing cornhole. I don't know if you know what that is. It's this game where you throw the beanbag. It's a southern states game. You hardly hear people up north talk about it.
It's like a backyard
game. And you toss them. And here in Texas, you have two kinds of people that play it: the rednecks and the Mexicans. I'm both, so we play it. And
then, you have to be drinking while you play it.
Yeah, and of course, black people all across the South play corn. They love cornhole, so we play it. And so I'm just was raised playing as I was young. If you go to a barbecue here in Texas, it don't matter, right? So somebody's gonna be playing it, right? So they're playing it. I was raised on the game. It's kind of like horseshoes, except not as noisy. And it's a little more. It seems like it might be a little harder because you're trying to make it into the hole. I don't know. Because I learned horseshoes where you can kind of just hit it and wrap it, Yeah. But cornhole is you got to make it in. It's you don't get no points. Yeah, wash your board in cornhole. Patrick knows. Yeah. So he was playing cornhole with his friends in the backyard, and they had some lights that they had strung up. We have the same thing, and we were talking, and me and Aaron were talking, and whatever. And we got along really well. Like he had a lot of the same views, everything as me. He's ex-military. he's still staying there. He's working at a dealership recently. He was selling cars, whatever. But he remodeled it, and the neighborhood's gotten a lot better too. It's they fixed the old neighborhood up a little bit, and these people moved out. But his grandmother was being plagued with bad dreams. A lot of things were happening, and her health started to fail, and she became anemic. Now, if I would have known him back then and he would have asked me these questions, I would have told him very quickly what I would do, how to deal with this situation. But I didn't know him then. But I, in my opinion, think that he handled it quite well. He knew who it was. He knew it was these people. And he told his grandmother, he says, I think you should go stay at Aunt Carly's. That is his, or Aunt Kara's. That's his grandmother's, or that's his mother's sister. And his mother had passed away. She had died, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he lost his mother when he was a teenager. And the way she passed, I'm not going to get into how she died. It was horrible. But domestic, basically. So, but his grandmother took him in and had raised him, and he had lived with his Aunt Kara for a while. And Kara took his grandmother in. And guess what? She started getting better. But then Shante started getting sick. And so him and Chubby and his neighbor Byron and Byron's wife all got together. They had some friends come over, his cousin Jermaine, the one that works at a bank. And
Yeah.
he kept pointing that out like he actually acted like he owned a bank.
She's from a different time.
Yeah. So she's like, he works at a bank. He's a bank teller. He did eventually become one of the managers, so he did work his way up, right? He did. Shout out to Jermaine, right? So he's like, we're playing bones, right? Or dominoes. That's what we call it in the South. We're playing bones. He goes, we're playing bones. He goes, we're drinking Mississippi Punch. I don't know if anybody knows what Mississippi Punch is. That's another Southern drink. Mississippi Punch is the same thing as Mississippi Specials. It's a type of whiskey. You put a bunch of Palomino cherries in it and some pineapple. It's really good. So it's a Southern thing, folks. It's Southern, I know. So I know what that is. And he was like, we're drinking Mississippi Punch. It was a little birthday get together for my cousin Gary. He's like, everything was good. He's like, and then we hear this loud banging noise. He's like, we're in the back, and some people back there playing cornhole. And they said somebody had come out of the house and started kicking the fence. So he went over to the neighbors. He goes, and I knocked on the door. He goes, they didn't answer. He's like, and maybe it was the punch. Maybe it was just me having been fed up. He's like, but I walked into their backyard. Typically, the back door to the backyard was locked. He's like, but here it was open, and I just walked back there. He goes, and that's when I saw it. He says, I saw this thing standing on the porch that at first I thought was a pile of clothing or a blanket bunched up on the porch. He goes, I walk up, and then this thing just stands straight up. It is not a pile of clothes. It is not a blanket. He's like, and it looks like this creature. He goes, the only way I could describe it is a Dogman. He's like, but it didn't have this quintessential wolf-like head. It's kind of what like Bettina has talked about and what Abe has claimed to have seen once or twice. Different people have claimed to have seen this over the years. It has a sort of canid-like head with those pointy cane corso Doberman type ears, like they've been clipped. And this head is more sleek, and it's black, and you can't really see the fur. There's no shagginess to it. He's like, and it's standing there, like it's like broad-shouldered. He goes, and it's about 7.5 feet tall. He goes, it towers over me. He goes, in my mind, he goes, this thing says, what do you want? And he's like, I was shocked. I was floored. He goes, and I look over. He goes, and imagine. He goes, just a few feet away over the fence, there's a party going on, and nobody can hear what I'm saying. He says, nobody can hear him. Nobody can hear him, folks. He's like, He's like, starts to yell, help, help, as he's falling backwards. He goes, and this thing began to become more emboldened and began to kind of laugh. It wasn't showing any emotion on its face. It was very like dog-like. He's like, but it was walking down the steps. He goes, and it was the feet. He said the feet looked unbelievable. These big, huge paws. He's like, and they were coming down the steps. He goes, and it had these claws. He said when it did like this with its fist, it opened its hand, and there were like knives on the end of these fingers. He said, yo, I'm talking Freddy Krueger. He's like, and this thing says, you messed up. He goes, the mouth elongated and the teeth became bigger, and every tooth in the mouth was a sharp dagger-like tooth. He said it almost looked like a shark's mouth. And this thing came walking down the steps. He goes, and what do you want? Why are you here? You're trespassing. And then it pointed. It says, go back. And he says, I crawled. He goes, I crab crawled. He's like, you know how in football practice, you guys said, yeah, you go backwards, crab crawl, you go, and then you roll over, you do those, especially if you're a lineman. He's like me. He was a lineman. So yeah, I know. You flip around and you crawl and then you flip around. Bear crawl, crab crawl. Bear crawl, crab crawl. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It sucks. Especially when you're doing it in a damn sticker patch. But I'm not going to get into it. I'm still bitter. 8th grade. But yeah, and the 9th grade came and we got to practice in a little better sticker patch. Shout out to Nelly PRT is holding strong. Methinks it's part of our admin. My hope is we solve the cryptid UFO and black money, no racism, black problem that's plagued this nation because it sounds better than the C word. We as Americans can handle anything.
Well, thank you.
He's talking about the Black Ops program.
Yeah.
Thank you for that donation. We appreciate that.
It's very generous of you.
So,
Yes.
and so he said that this thing was coming down the steps. He goes, and get this. He goes, I heard you mention this black vaporous stuff coming off of. I said, I personally did not see that. My friend's brother did. Well, I should say my friend, because he's not just my friend's brother, he's my friend too. But yeah. And the black vaporous smoke coming off the back of the neck yeah. But he saw it coming off the top of its head and its shoulders. He said, all I could say was, Jesus, help me, Jesus, help me, Jesus, help me. And I said, what did it say? He goes, oh, it didn't like it. He's like, the eyes were getting redder and redder, and it seemed like they were getting bigger. He said, the head was getting bigger. This thing was growing. He said, and then it said, stop that. Stop that. He said, but then it stopped coming towards me, and it just kind of stood there. And he goes, and when I got up and ran out the fence, he's like, it just stood there and kind of turned its head to the side, watching him. It didn't turn its body towards him. He said, prior to that, I was convinced this thing was going to try and kill and eat me. He said, and I'm going to tell you something else. He goes, I can't tell you 100%. He's like, but I think this thing would have been able to eat me really quickly, my whole body. He's like, and I felt like if it did, it would take my soul. When he told me that, dude, we both got quiet on the phone for a minute, Aaron. You know, we just both kind of, because I shudder to think what could have happened to me. And he told me like this. He said, no, you good, dog. He goes, you had Jesus. I have Jesus. I had Jesus. We were good. He's like, but I was 100% convinced now. The beings in that house, he quit calling them people. He called them things. He didn't say beings. I said beings. He said the things living in that house were evil. He's like, and then he's like, my uncle, we call him Dougie. Well, it says Dougie, but I'm pretty sure it's Dougie. I heard him say Dougie. I didn't. He put Dougie, but I know that's not true. That's not, sorry about that. It's not Doogie Howser. Okay. Mistake there. But Dougie, he said his uncle Dougie came by. He goes, and Dougie was, you know, like back in the 70s, he was like, I'm a pimp. And he goes, no, you're just going to jail a lot. This dude was a lot of fun to talk to, man, because it brought back, you know,
Thank you,
kind of
Brett.
memories from the old days when I lived in not such a good place. And so we had a few laughs. It was funny. And the guy's a very colorful guy. Aaron, you could honestly have your own podcast. You're a funny guy. You and me were cracking each other up so much. So I really enjoyed talking to this guy. He was cool. I really liked talking to him. Down to earth, but just very, very straightforward. Shantae, let me tell you something. He talked about your hair a lot. I'm just saying, he made fun of your hair. I'm not trying to rat you out, but hey, he talked about your hair a lot. He said that you need to do this and that about your hair. I looked at your Facebook. You look fine. Okay? I looked at y'all's Facebooks. I think he was exaggerating. And Chubby, you ain't that chubby. I don't know why he's talking all that.
Maybe it was a chubby baby.
No, that's what he said.
Oh.
When he was little, he was so fat he would weeble wobble. And fall down. And he's like, you know how you weeble wobble, they don't fall down. He goes, this dude fell down a lot. Gordo.
Yeah.
Gordo was a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, my little
His
nephew
head
was
was
the same
so
way.
big.
Big head, fat belly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susie and
Thank you
Brett,
for the donations.
very much.
Oh, yeah. Brett Lawfer and Susie Lyons, thank you so much for those.
Yeah. And, and we try to have fun on the show because, gosh dang, man, you know, when you hear, something like that,
What do you do?
yeah, that's why we just kind of joked when we talked, it was like, you kind of get in that nervous laughter mode with people. Oh, yeah. What? Yeah. We're about to eat your head. Oh, it's a good thing it didn't happen, though, right? It's a good thing it didn't happen.
Like the things on
because
Venom.
now you can live to pay bills.
Like the things on Venom, how they ate them whole, like
Yeah.
slurped them up.
Weird. But this thing was not a human being, creature, whatever. It was humanoid.
Yeah.
But it was laying in the backyard. And now, if this is the same thing, think about this, folks. It was laying in the backyard looking like a Doberman Pinscher. That's what really got me. I was like, dude, come on, man. Now I got to look at my neighbor's dogs, and I don't like the neighbors in the backyard's dogs already.
Like it's just laying around there like it's a pet,
Mm-hmm.
just chilling in the backyard.
But it's a old Dogman. I always say they don't look like dogs. Well, that's, I've had about a dozen of them now. Not many, but a few, that look like dogs. That one looked like a dog. So I stand corrected, but not very often. I'll stand, but I don't want to.
Oh, Lolo's got German Shepherds. So cool. I love those dogs.
So yeah, we saw a big
That's
German
right.
Shepherd run around last night, loose.
Yeah.
And he was on a mission too. He didn't look scared either. I
Yeah,
saw
he
him
was
kind of
going
nervous
somewhere.
when they're in somebody else's yard. He just looked like, I'm going to do something.
He has some business to attend to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were doing patrol, and I said, man, thank goodness I'm not walking the beat right now. I was like, Anthony, go check the lineman. The dog's over there. Just be careful with the dog. I said, I'll drive really fast up to get you when the dog comes. You're very brave. You're a very brave young man. That's all I can say. But no, it was on the other side of the complex. But the dog-like thing was in the backyard laying there. And I said, did you see it after that? He goes, yeah. He's like, yeah, it was laying in the backyard. Like it was just chilling, looking at me like a dog. I said, there's no way this could have been. And he goes, he didn't even let me finish this. He goes, no. He's like, no, I was a couple drinks in me, bro. Enough to get me to go over there. Not enough to be seeing shit. He's like, I wasn't looking. That thing was, I don't know what that was. He's like, but the next day I come out, he goes, and this weird, he said bad word. He said this weird bad word was standing there holding a blowtorch and says, can I speak to you? And he's like, I'm getting ready for work, but I'm always early, and I'm waiting for Chubby to come get me. He's like, and I'm out there talking to my neighbor Byron. We're both like, hey, that weird. He's like, he goes, Byron's got a toothpick. He's like, yeah, that weird dude, weird dude. Trying not to let him see that he's talking about him. He goes, oh, he's calling you. Okay. Yeah. He goes, I look over, Byron don't even walk over there with me. Because I was aggravated by that. And I said, in his defense, he probably made a business decision. He's got a family to feed, and he's got, guys holding a blowtorch, He said, I walked up and I said, can you put that down? He goes, what, are you afraid that I'm going to do something? And he lit it. And he's like, come on, man. What are you doing? And he goes, and he turns it off. He goes, oh, I'm just kidding.
What a way to joke.
He's like, he lifted up his goggles. He's like, His eyes, he goes, he's had his eyes squinted. He goes, but I could see there was nothing but black in the eyes. And it was a very overcast day, which is probably the only reason he was outside. He's like, his skin was pale. He's like, and my grandma was right. He had these purpley weird veins on his face, and he looked like a freaking vampire. Now, over the course of the last few months, we've been given several videos from people showing us their ability to pop out their fangs. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Nellie?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people show us the way they could elongate their necks, their limbs. With the advent of AI, I don't know if this is real. I don't know what these people are doing. I mean, there's even a guy who's got a channel who's doing it. He's doing a live, like a video, and then he does it. I mean, I don't know what is special effects. I don't know. You're going to put all that kind of money into that? I don't know. I think the cat's out of the bag at this point, right? I think the jack is out of the box. And I think that the more people that talk about this, the more they can't hide, folks. I think you need to share this with your family, your friends, whoever. Because if everybody's talking about it and everybody knows about it, they can't hide and they can't terrorize and it can't be used, oh, it's just a big joke. We need to follow the lead of everybody who's talking about these things. These people from these vampire cults that are coming forward and they're saying this is what's happening. The celebrities that are breaking ranks and blowing their cover. I just want you to remember, folks, when all this shakes out, I don't care. This is not an ego thing. Remember where you first heard it. Right? Probably wasn't us. It was probably somebody else that told you this crazy crap. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting. I started talking about it.
If it goes south, though, you
But
did it.
I'm just saying, you can always accredit me with it if you want to. When the vampires come and start taking people's heads off, please do not say Josh Turner said Josh Turner was repeating insert podcaster's name of somebody you don't like there.
Yeah.
He was repeating what that dude said. And that's a dude you need to go because that guy looks like he would look better without having a head. Not him. Josh Turner needs it. He's got big shoulders. The head, it's symmetrical. I'm just saying.
You don't want to ruin the art.
Yeah. It's a work of art, please. A head this big, and what are the odds you'd have shoulders to fit it? That is not normal in our society. You know, you can say he got a big old head, but the guy's got humongous shoulders. It's abnormal. He walks like this.
Behold the masterpiece.
I'm joking, folks. I was sculpted as a Greek god with a belly. Back in those days, all the badasses had bellies. I'm just saying. They had dad bods. Greek god dad bod. But you know what I'm saying. Let's not get carried away and go like, hey, it was him that did it. It was him. You know, I don't want to take credit until I know that everybody's safe. And then I'm like, hey, it was me. I said it. But no, I called it. I did. I didn't totally believe 100%. I just thought it sounded cool. There were some stories out there. Hey, cool. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Then the floodgates were opened. And when my book comes out, I hope to be one of the first people to throw out there that many real encounters.
It's looking good.
You know? These people do what they do. What did Arturo Monte? He always has something really good to say. Wolf people, vampire cults, reptilians, sorcerers, black magic, shapeshifters, aliens are all real. Yeah. They're real. And I know what Aaron went through. And I appreciate people trusting me to tell it. And for the record, Aaron, I don't think you speak too bad. He has a couple things that happened to him in combat that messed with him. And so but I can be a voice for you. If you don't want to tell it, tell me, I'll retell it, or you can come on and tell it. Now, just saying that in a group got me banned. But, I'm not going to mention the person's name, but it was a little punk from the past who's a little punk. And what do you expect from a person that likes communism? I mean, what do you expect? But yeah, they in Facebook apologized to me yesterday. Oh, we're sorry. Where's my reparations at, dickhead? I mean, I was banned for 4 days. I couldn't do anything in my groups.
Oh, you're sorry?
But you're sorry. You say, oh, our software took a big dump. Sorry. When the little turd turned you in. When the fat little turd turned you in. Why don't you go and mess with him now? Since he turned me in for bullying and harassment for making that statement like that. My statement was very simple. If you have a story, you wanted me to tell it, you can come on and tell it if you can speak.
That's so evil. How could
It's
you
horrible.
write that?
It's horrible to ask people that. How dare you give the plebeians a voice? Stay in your lane. Know your place. Folks, I'm going to say something too real quickly here. The mods, if you're a moderator, it is a privilege to be a moderator and on anybody's channel, and ours is no different, but it can also be a task, and I understand that. Please, no kicking or banning or throwing people out at, unless it's just very egregious. It needs to be brought to my attention. I need to see it. And one of these guys over here with me will,
A screenshot.
one of the guys, Tony, Anthony, or Nelly. You're not a guy, but the guys, the guys and the gal.
The people.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can say guys and nobody gets offended, and then a guy will get offended. I'm a strong woman. I'm like, oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Because you bench pressed 215. That's why I was wondering if you was,
Strongest woman I've ever seen.
And you did it 30 times. So I'm just saying 250, 30 times you're
Venus Williams over here. Or Serena, whatever.
Venus.
It's crazy. So well, Venus Williams, yeah, she was her and
Serena.
Serena, yeah. But yeah, and this dude's like, I'm what? Shut up. just shut up. Just shut up.
Mandy Moen slap.
So we got these people who say, and then so we end up with a bunch of people that were banned and kicked out and everything else.
Yeah.
Because they blocked them really. So, and they were very aggressive about it. And I know why, because we were getting attacked by these silly people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happens. You get that,
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, like it's just a natural part of growing. We're gonna have some new people that show up in the chat that we've never seen before, and if they say something that's I don't know, maybe a little bit disagreeable, just kind of give them a warning. And when it comes to our regular listeners, please just like cut them some slack. And there does come a point where like you just gotta agree to disagree and move on. Like I know that there's a few of our regular people here in particular who are great, who they pretty much like voice their own opinions on things which differ from ours, but they do so respectfully, that and they don't cause problems, and they're not silenced, they're not blocked or put in timeout for it or anything like that. That's fine. It's just that when it comes to stuff that's like really inflammatory, just like blatant disrespect and unnecessary, that's another story. But yeah, let's just try to be like a little bit more forgiving, and understand that like just because someone is new here, that doesn't mean that they're automatically a troll account. But we have been plagued with troll accounts, so like but we're not blaming y'all. It is what it is.
So here's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, Danita says, what a strange thing to get restricted for. And some people will say, I didn't do anything, and they give you like half a story and it's all bullcrap. No, I actually showed on here on the show what I said in that Northern whatever group, Northern Encounters, whatever.
Yeah, Northern Lights, something
group. I talked to Daniel Williams, who's the admin of that group. He's the head of it. And we know who did it. We know the person that did it. And they're a little turd. They've hated me since 2019. I still don't know why. I never did figure out what this guy's deal was. But yeah, I'm not going to say his name or anything like that. That's what they want. They want somebody to get, give them a shout out. So, yeah. And so what ended up happening, he talks to this guy, and this guy, he tells him, he says, let me ask you a question. He's like, why were you in my backyard? And he turns it around and says, why are you living next door to my granny? He says, I can live wherever I want to live. And he walks off. He goes, but you're trespassing. He goes, I'm not going to call the authorities this time. He's like, and in fact, we deal with things our own way. Don't do it again, or it'll cost you dearly. And he goes in and slams the garage door. About 6 months go by. He goes, and nothing weird happens. It was just like we kept watching them. We kept an eye on them. He goes, we always made sure that we were all together. He goes, my granny had come back. He's like, she had the preacher come over who, he goes, I'm going to be honest. He's like, I just have just as good as having a grocery store clerk come in and say prayers. The preacher came over and just ate chicken and left. He's like, he was no good, in his opinion. He said, my grandma loved that man till the day she died. And he goes, and after the funeral, I was like, I cut ties with him. He's like, but I started going to another church. He's like, it wasn't a Baptist church. It was a non-denominational. He goes, and I met these people who were dead serious. He goes, and they were good friends with some people that were from an Orthodox church that was down the road from them. And they all came over together in a group. He's like, and they prayed. He goes, and when they prayed, he goes, we heard this loud, what sounded like an explosion. He goes, Wolf, I kid you not. He's like, it came from the house next door. He goes, and this was months and months went by and nothing happened. He goes, and then one day we wake up and they're gone. He goes, they're just gone. He's like, but my uncle, they came over shortly after my granny's death. He's like, he goes, I might be able to give you some insight. He goes, years ago, he's like, me and your grandpa, this is his great uncle. He says, we were living down in New Orleans. He's like, and we ran afoul because we needed money to keep the store open. He's like, we had a restaurant / store, like a little, place way back in the day. And he said that we needed money and we turned to these gangsters. He's like, we didn't know that they were not normal people. He goes, now gangsters can be evil. You're doing bad things. He's like, but these people, he's like, they were not human. He's like, they sent something after us. He goes, and one day we were driving down by the water, and he goes, this thing came up out of the water. It must have been sitting there waiting. He's like, and it looked like a giant lizard type creature. And here's a weird thing. He said, he's like, this thing looked like it was wearing the top of an alligator. When he said that, he kept talking. I was like, wait, whoa. I was like, hold on. I was like, you got to back up, Aaron. It was wearing the top of an alligator. He goes, yeah. He goes, like it was wearing an alligator, like pretend. He goes, but it was a human shaped head and it looked like a lizard. He said the best way, he goes, and my uncle, I could describe what my uncle told me. He goes, have you ever seen the Spider-Man movie with the lizard? And I said, yeah, I've seen it. He said, yeah, it looked like that. I think he's talking about the one with, what's the kid's name? Not Tom Ford. The one that played in the movie that was directed by Mel Gibson. That one. I can't remember I looked it up and I can't remember the kid's name now. If somebody could look it up.
Let's see.
Well, anyways, so that movie, with Spider-Man. And so while we were talking, I kind of looked it up and I found it. Garfield. His name is something Garfield.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Andrew Garfield. Thank you. So Andrew Garfield, that he played Spider-Man in that movie. And then of course him and Maguire revamped their roles in the Spider-Man movie, and the Lizard was in that one too. It was No Way Home or something like that. But yeah, the Lizard, it looked like that, the way he described. He says it looked like the one from Spider-Man. He's like, but there was like this alligator, like the top of the head of an alligator, and it's like the top of it, like it had been cut in half, and half of it was on top of him. And he kind of just came up out of the water, and it looked like he was wearing it. It didn't look like it was part of him. And this thing ran alongside their vehicle. He's like, and then another time, he goes, we had gone out to the edge of town. He goes to meet these people. He's like, and we look over to our left, and there is this wolf-like creature standing there watching us. And this thing was 7-8 foot tall. And we knew this creature from the legends. It was a Rougarou. So these people were into some serious black magic, very, very dark. He said, and the people that they were dealing with looked like normal humans except for one. He goes, and this one looked very pale, very weird, and he was always wearing like a hoodie over his head. And he would just kind of sit in the back and watch. And he said that his brother did something very bold. He broke into the place where they kept all their money, and he stole it and then absconded with it. First, he went to Mississippi. And when he was in Mississippi, a couple of these beings showed up. And in his opinion, he goes, I can't prove this. He goes, but I think my brother and two of his friends killed them. And he said when this happened, he goes, one of his friends was infected with whatever it is that makes these people do what they do. And he began to stalk my brother. And in fact, was keeping tabs on my brother. The other guy that was with him ended up disappearing. And he said that he thinks when they were living in Nashville, he goes, my brother was part of a group of guys that were they were known as a Nashville, like a clique.
Mm-hmm.
And they worked for some white guys, but they were kind of like an arm or a wing of this sort of like a Dixie Mafia type group of guys. He's like, and he goes, my brother and these other black guys, they did work for these dudes. And these dudes were pretty powerful, and they were going to sell my brother out to these guys from New Orleans. They wanted him bad. And he goes, my brother just made himself essential. He became the top earner, and he became the right-hand guy of the head of that. He goes, and there were a lot of white men there that were resentful of him because he was black and he was, making money with him. What?
I'm listening.
I thought you had something to say.
No.
Because you were like, no joke, folks. She was like, and I was like, what? So I'm joking. She wasn't. It wasn't that animated. It was close though. She's with her.
It is now.
So we're talking about all this serious stuff. So this is what his uncle told him. He said his uncle told me all this. He goes, He goes, and Wolf, I don't know what's true and what's not. He goes, my uncle has told me some crazy stories over the years, and I don't know whether they're true or not. He said, but he's like, one day, he's like, his uncle told him, and Dougie told him, he said, let me tell you something. He said, there was this one brother who was a part of that clique down in New Orleans. He said that leader of that gang is steeped in voodoo. He does all kinds of magic and he shapeshifts. He does all kinds of crap. He's long gone now. He passed away. He disappeared. And he said that I'm talking like serious with this stuff. And he was reputed to be a vampire. And the rumor about this guy was that he was over 300 years old and that he was a former slave. And not a slave from the Civil War era, like at the end of it, whatever. No, he was a slave from back when the French had first arrived down there. And his name was like Lecoyer or something like that, or Lacroix or something. But because that's not me not remembering. That's it's on you, Aaron. You didn't tell me right, and you couldn't remember. All right, but and it don't matter. But it's just stories, and it's all secondhand, whatever. This isn't, but there was something that his grandfather had that when his grandmother passed away, she had only told him in passing. There was a secret that his grandfather had. So when his grandmother passed, she had a lot of money. And, and he's like, I'm not afraid to talk about it now. He goes, I know that most of those people that were involved in that are passed away. He goes, and besides that, he goes, I'm very strong in my faith. But he goes, I said, how much money? He goes, it was enough to remodel our house. And he goes, and then we bought another house across town, and we fixed it up, or across the neighborhood, he said, and they fixed it up, and then they sold it, flipped it. And he goes, and I bought me a new truck, and he's like, got money from my kids, and so who knows? And he said there was this weird necklace that belonged to his grandmother, and it had a big ruby in the middle of it, and it was very nice, very, very pretty. And when he got it appraised, he was offered over $20,000 for this particular necklace. And there was a ring too, but he said he wasn't going to sell the ring because his grandmother wore it until the day she wore it as her wedding ring. So were these people there for that? Was there something going on? Was it? But his grandmother was very spiritually in tune. This is what I think, and this is what I told him. I said, the vampire cannot enter your house with the other. Okay. This is what I know. And maybe I'm incorrect, but I'm willing to come out on a limb and say this. Okay. They themselves, as the physical vessel, can come into your house. Right? But his grandmother was smart. He goes, she never let us have a welcome sign. He's like, she had crosses over every door. And she wasn't Catholic, but she had these, and get this. He said one day he was watching my show and he recognized this. Very astute of your grandmother. She had that all over the house. It was a St. Benedict, and she had gotten it blessed. She had olive oil and holy water and rock salt. This was something that she did because I think that she knew that these bastards couldn't come in the house. And she told them, don't mess with them. They can't mess with us. She would always tell them, if you quit messing, they can't do nothing. They can do nothing to us. They can't come onto our property. And he's like, Rennie, why is this? She's like, I've had it blessed. He goes, and she would always put her hand on his head and pray, and he'd have to sit there and, he's like, at first it was just kind of like a nuisance. I'm like, okay, I'm out there playing basketball. I got to hold the basketball while she prays for me, and my friends are kind of snickering or whatever. He's like, and then as I got older, he goes, I went to her as she was dying. He goes, and she was a very strong woman. She chose her time to go, and she says, I'm going to leave. I don't have much left in me. And she says, come here, boy. And she put her hand on me. He goes, I felt this heat go from the top of my head to the tips of my toes, bottom of my feet. He's like, and I felt the Holy Spirit. He goes, and I felt so strong. He goes, she's like, turn around. And he goes, what am I looking at? He goes, and when I turned back around, she was gone. I told him, I said, you're very lucky because I didn't get to be with my grandmother when she passed because of some wickedness that somebody did. My grandmother was asking for me, and someone, I'm even going to mention their name, basically took that last chance away from me by telling me that I was sick and that I would get her sick because I had a cold. She was on her deathbed. So I didn't get to say goodbye. But that person one day will pay for all her wickedness. One day, either in this world or the next, you'll get yours. So I told him, I said, that's wonderful, Aaron. I'm glad that you got to do that because I didn't get that luxury with my grandmother. I think if my grandmother had any last words to say, she would have told me to stop living the way I was. And it would have been it. And he says, I didn't have any fear of these evil bastards. He goes, I don't live in fear of it. He said, they left. They moved away. He said, they did make her sick. He goes, she did say that. That's all they could do was a half-hearted TKO, was make her sick and going out of the hospital. But she recovered and she lived another several years. And then ultimately she passed away. She was old when she passed away. She was 90. But she lived a long time.
Yeah.
She was a fighter. And she said, he goes, I used to tease her. I'm like, Grandma, you don't look a day over 89. And she would laugh. And she's like, boy, it's like, he said, I started telling her that joke when she was 82. And she'd always put her hands up, and he goes, and she was a boxing fan. She loved boxing. And another thing that we have in common, she didn't like Floyd Mayweather. She called him a fraud. I didn't like Floyd either.
Yeah.
He didn't like Floyd because he said he lost money on him one time. I said, well, whatever. But he says, dude, I don't do anything anymore. He goes, I don't smoke. I don't drink. I just work out and I take care of my kids. I work. He goes, my wife works. He goes, and we've remodeled that house. He said, and we got some wonderful neighbors that live there now. They live next door to us and they're nice people. And he said, we get along with our neighbors, He goes, the neighborhood's changed quite a bit. He goes, but, he says, you still hear the gunshots in the background. He goes, you're at home,
Yeah, of course.
he said that. He's like, you're in the hood.
It's
You hear
hood
pow,
AS-
pow, pow, in the background,
It's hood ASMR.
Yeah.
Gunshots and dogs barking and someone screaming all muffled in the
Yeah.
distance. Sirens.
But he said, he goes, in our street, he goes, it's pretty chill. He goes, everybody knows everybody. His friend Byron he's still living over there next door. He's still, pain in the butt. He's like, but I'll never forget. He goes, when what may or may not be vampires came to our neighborhood. Now let's break it down. What in the hell was that thing in the backyard? Were they vampires or were they werewolves? Or was this thing something that was guarding their property?
That's what I think.
A
Some kind
hybrid.
of guard dog.
And did they come by coincidence or were they there because they were attracted to some of the energy? The ruby that she had, they were called blood rubies. He heard the guy say that was appraising it. Supposedly very rare. I don't know. He said it's weird. He goes, if you turn the ruby different ways in the light, it looks almost like there's something moving inside of it, like it's blood.
Mm.
This was what he told me. I don't know. But I mean, and he didn't sell it. No, he didn't sell it. He was appraised for at $20K or whatever. But then he ended up. Oh yeah, he did sell it. He did. My bad. But he didn't sell the ring. He kept it. He kept that. It's like some of my mother's jewelry. I still have it. There's a couple of them that are worth quite a bit, and I just, But anyways, whatever you guys think. I mean, I don't know.
So after she passed, okay, like when did they move out though? Was it after his grandma passed or
What is
during?
that?
What is what?
Oh, you put that up there.
Oh, the little.
Yeah, thing that I saw. So
What is that?
Yeah. So what? What were you saying?
When did they move out? Like, what was it? Was grandma was still
She was
alive?
still alive, and she had come back from the hospital. And he goes, one day we go outside, and they're gone. They were all gone. As far as he could tell, it was just a male and a female, and the dog.
Mm-hmm.
They never saw anybody else. And the people that moved in after that, they didn't stay there very long. They were a Hispanic couple with a baby. He goes, and they were gone in like 2 months. They broke their lease. It was being rented, and they were gone. The guy that came in after them that was doing the remodeling, he says he went over there and he talked to the guy. And he said that that guy told him that him and his crew, that they worked on the little bit of renovations after the weirdos had lived there. And he said that there was a horrible energy in that house. And that one of his workers had been held up against the wall. And that they had, when they first went in there, they found this weird, this is weird, a weird jar of what looked like blood.
Mm.
You know, like in the fridge, and that's all that was in there. They weren't, there wasn't anything else.
Yeah. Someone on our Patreon said that whenever they were in high school, that they went to high school here in Austin, that they were wandering around in the area right there at Palmer and Mopac. And that them and their high school friends, they went inside this abandoned house just to do it, and that they opened up this medicine cabinet in the bathroom in the back, and there's like these packs of blood, some which are like still cold and like fresh, and some of them were like open.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know exactly where he's talking about, because I mean, like it's built up now, but that area, it was probably like an old neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone into abandoned houses, abandoned buildings, apartments, things, whatever, and seen some weird stuff. Ran into some really bizarre things. I don't know, man. I saw something similar to that when I was working government housing, and I don't know if it belonged to a homeless person or what, but it was an abandoned, not an abandoned, it was just an empty apartment, and it had sat empty for a couple of months, and I think a homeless person had gone up in there, and we found like 2, those bags like that they give you when you go to the hospital. What are they called? Those
Yeah, like those medical bags of blood.
Yeah, medical
Yeah.
bags. Yeah, there were 2 of them that looked empty, but you could still see a little bit of the red in them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was weird. And they had been punctured. But we saw a lot of other weird things in there too, like vials and stuff and needles.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So any questions from the audience about this case? Do you want to call it a case? I don't know. And shout out to Aaron. I really had a good time talking to you. Not everybody that you talk to, makes it that fun.
Yeah.
Some people are really shy, and that's no big deal. You're getting the information and you're giving it to me, and I appreciate it. But some people, it's hard to follow. They can be hard to follow. But, sometimes you talk to people and it just flows. You get along with them real well. And I've been fortunate in that sense that there have been a lot of people who I've talked to as of late that have helped a lot, and just given me the information and just been real cool. Our guest on Friday is going to be Robert Prenz. He's an experiencer who's got a lot of different, stories and things to talk about. So, and like I said on the Patreon show, if you're not a Patreon member, join the Patreon. It's the best deal going. I'm telling you, man. We give it to you all. A lot of swag, and you get the extra show every 2 weeks. And on the Patreon, like I was saying, I had Melvin Greathouse on, but I had the notes for Melvin Harrison. So sorry about that. I messed up. But we'll get Melvin Harrison on here too to talk about his reptilian encounters and stuff. And when I was on Abe's channel the other night, Abe Cius was talking about that, saying some of the things that that he had talked about and whatnot. But Melvin Greathouse was cool too. He had his experiences. Definitely experiencer, somebody who had seen things since he was a child. It's important to bring people on that have seen those things. So these people, they go through this stuff. And not everybody's story is going to be some epic adventure. And a lot of times there's small stories. So I want to do an episode coming up where we just go into these, like, I'm going to do one on the pre-record, and I'm going to do one just for an hour straight, and then I'm going to do one on the live stream for like 2 hours where we just go over these small encounters, like the one from the guy that worked at the tire place.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one.
Yeah.
Or the guy from the bakery, or a gal from the bakery. It's just short stuff, but it's still scary.
Yeah.
It happens, but there's not really much you can do. You can't turn it into an hour. I mean, you can't make that the focus of it. You know what I mean? So I throw those out there during, when people come on as guests to fill the air, and then of course, when I go on other people's shows, I throw those out there. Just trust me, folks. I know what I'm doing. People are always like, you're talking too much, and the guest is, but yeah, let me tell you something. The guest doesn't have 3 hours worth of stuff to talk about. So what do you want to do? Go. Yep. How about those courtesans of pleasure? Yeah. like what's it? Balls of Fury?
Yeah.
He goes, yep. Got to do something or in the neck. Okay. Well, this sucks.
We're helping you.
Yeah.
I used to have that Balls of Fury shirt. Remember, it said you need quick hands to beat off evil. Yeah. I would wear that around.
And it was Christopher Walken on it.
Yeah.
And Nelly keeps trying to convince me that Mel Gibson was talking about Christopher Walken. I looked it up again. It was Christopher Walker, the producer, not Christopher Walken. Because Christopher Walker was reputedly a vampire. I'm not even joking, folks. Like, look it up. He's like, I mean, look at him. I mean, Christopher Walken's like, he's weird looking.
I love Christopher Walken.
He looks like an alien.
What?
But Christopher Walker looked menacing, like he looked like the undead. So anyway, folks, anything you got to say before we bounce?
Where are we bouncing to? Your face.
Well, I'm in luck because people say I don't have any top teeth.
Yeah, you do. What?
Have you heard that? The theories that I don't have any top teeth.
Oh yes.
When I get angry and I'm ready, they pop. They come down like.
No, they go back up.
There they are.
Even
They're like,
scary.
There you go. It's because I don't have Bigfoot or Dogman fangs like these people.
We could get you the plastic ones to wear. The vampire fangs. The
Yeah, if you want me to look stupid.
What's the actor? The guy. I can't remember now. When he wore those fake Halloween ones to bite that girl in the neck in that vampire movie. What was his name?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Somebody's got to know.
Wedge, let me clarify. I think they pretty much did. They did leave him alone. I mean, I think Grandma had it. I think she already knew because her husband had run afoul. This is what I think. My take on this was that grandmother had run afoul of these vampires because of her husband.
Yes, Nicolas Cage.
I think they were looking to settle old scores and tie up loose ends and maybe get those rubies back because they had something, maybe they were going to use them. And objects, though, let me tell you something. Objects are not haunted or cursed any more than you allow them to be. I've had cursed and haunted objects, and I personally, not me, but through Christ, I've broken their power, and they just sit there. They're just an impotent object now. So if something is around it, and I'm going to say this again, and I'll say it 1,000 times, and I don't care who I offend, and I don't care who jumps off the stream because you don't want to hear it. Don't listen. But you go in and you just say, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. You have no power here. You don't belong here. I renounce you, denounce you in the name of Christ. Leave. You're not to stay in my house or any of my properties. You're not to stay in my yard. You are not allowed around my people, my family, my livestock, my land, my vehicles, or any of my holdings. You must leave. I renounce you in the name of Jesus. Right? I tie, bind, and rebuke all evil power that has no authority over me. You have no authority over me. I never gave you permission to come to me. When did I tell you to come over and take over me? And no, I didn't.
You're not welcome.
I serve Christ, and I serve the Father of of Christ, who is the Most High God. And no, I don't follow everything that's in the Old Testament. I don't. I openly say that. Look into it. Maybe you'll figure it out. These people who do these things that they do, you know what they do? They follow this Old Testament vengeance. I'm a jealous God. They latch on to all of that, which are words written by priests who were making human characteristics on God so that they could be more like God in the eyes of the people that they wanted to control. The church took it over, and guess what they did? They used the Old Testament as the basis of their control because the New Testament wouldn't work for them. So they shifted the focus from the new world, the new works, the testament of Jesus, to the old. Yeah. So in the name of Christ, he gives you the power. He gives you the power over these beings. What can they do? They can slink around and be angry, but that's it. Let's be honest. These people who are in charge, who are absolutely running this world because their father is Satan, and they're of the synagogue of Satan, as Jesus says. He says it. Your father is not my father. He tells the Jews that. He tells the Pharisees that. He says, your father's not my father. He's like, your father is Shaitan, was Satan, right? And you're of the synagogue of Satan. He told them that. And they were like, no, this guy's got to go. We got to kill him. And John Hagee can write all the books he wants and blame the Romans and, do this mental gymnastics and go around the issue and circumvent it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the Pharisees killed him. They had him killed in the flesh, but they didn't kill him in the spirit. And you need to be afraid of one thing, the one who can give you the second death, which is God. And every day you wake up, you don't got to tremble in fear because that's God. Our God doesn't, he's not telling people to go commit genocide. He's not telling people to do any of those things. He's just asking you to follow his son to him. Okay? Free your mind from all this garbage and follow Christ and you'll be fine. Don't let these creatures of darkness scare you. Don't be afraid. You have the power. When you have that fear and your knees kind of get weak, they key in on that. That's a spiritual opening. You don't let them have it. Take it back because it's yours. It's your birthright. We're all the children of God. There's not one group of people who's above others. Don't let them lie to you and deceive you. Nobody's any better than anybody else. He loves us all equally. Christ came here for a reason. He knew he was going to die. And he did it. And that reverberates throughout history. Right? And it's going to continue to reverberate. So claim your birthright, folks, over these children of darkness. They've already been defeated. They just don't know it. You know that? Because if you serve the one most high, who is their God compared to yours? I don't give a crap what they call him. Moloch, Baal, Haman, Bubblish, Fisheye, Leviathan. I don't give a crap. Doesn't matter. They're all false gods. Leviathan, or whatever you want to call him, is a false god. Mammon is a false god. Moloch is a false god. Baal. They're all false gods. These are false gods. These are evil deities, entities. I don't even, I was looking at these hats the other day, and they had one that was Ares. And it was a cool design. It was really cool. He was riding a dragon. He had a spear and a shield. I won't buy it because Ares is the god of war. They had these watches they called the Zeus model. I won't wear it. Why? Because it's Zeus. Zeus is another false god. I don't follow these false gods. I don't care what my enemies say. They can slander and lie and make up stories about me until their butthole bleeds. It doesn't make it true. They can lie until their ears bleed. Doesn't make it happen. I don't care. God will judge me like he will judge you, and I have a lot to be judged for, believe me. We all do. Anybody who says they don't is a liar. What?
We have to help each other stay
Look
on
at
the
that
path.
microphone.
Oh, we have to help each other stay on the path, the right path. All of us.
Mm-hmm. That exactly. What is that? Somebody said,
Which one are you reading?
trying to get it on there. Robert says these are parasitic forces that ruin humanity. And we ruin or run, whatever. Well, Emilio said that's called hemorrhoids. Well, whatever you want to call it, that's what they are. They're cancerous little polyps. And they run around saying and doing the most vile garbage you could imagine. And they've all come together to hate people.
They're bad Milos.
They hate me. They hate, a bunch of different people. They're always attacking people. They attacked Harley Owens, and, they'll attack Nelly and Tony, Maddie, Anthony, whoever they can attack. And they've attacked other podcasters like Helbenaller and whoever they can get in their sights.
They're devoid of all light. I mean,
there's nothing in them that's
it's
good.
sad.
And then they run around interviewing each other, and when it all comes out, they're all going to have to be accountable for the people that they've backed up. Yeah, Sage Cooley, I wish I could say that about the shop, but it won't be up until we can get ourselves over to 7 Clay. And unfortunately, when we're working until 8 in the morning, it's very hard. No, Melissa, Harley Owens is the one that was on the show the other night. He's a Bigfoot researcher. He's the one that had all the pictures. He had the Dogman and the Bigfoot encounter. While we still got plenty of people in the chat, let's go ahead and pick some people for the giveaways. And see, if you run out of hoodies that are your size, we're just going to have to send you a T-shirt. You're just going to have to be happy with that. Okay. Why are people getting shirts that aren't they wanted those camouflage shirts, and some people were saying that they were getting
they're camouflage. We can't find them to send out. I'm just kidding.
Anyway, what were you saying?
Tony got them together. I'm going to have to let him know that.
Yeah, well, Tony's not the best at doing stuff.
Yeah.
Tony's listening right now going, what? Yes, you aren't. Yes, you aren't. That makes a lot of sense. But if your name is not in green, I'm going to give you a few minutes if somebody wants to jump in there and put your name in green so that you can be entered into the giveaway. Okay, so Kristen Kiesler says, I haven't won, and Paul Pachura. Didn't Paul get picked the other day?
I don't think so.
And Ken Christian says he hasn't won in over a year. Well, you know what? I picked Ken. Even though he hasn't. And then so Mojo says, I've never won. Juan says, you've never won? You've never won, Juan? Juan? You've never won in a million? Juan Arturo Mod, folks, he's been on the show a couple times. He's a PRT veteran and a legend. He is a
nice guy, too.
He had some stuff that I don't know what I would have done if I was that.
Yeah, his encounter was one of my favorite
pretty crazy stuff. Werewolf cult people, you ran up on them. Let me tell you something, Juan. If you're in Austin, come by and just get what you want. Just
Yeah.
go in there. That's what Dorothy did.
Get what you want.
Get what you want.
Yeah,
what
there's-
you want. What you want. Okay, so just whatever. I mean, so it is what it is. Says I have never won. Everybody's over here like I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. we got to get organized here. So I picked Ken Christian. Ken Christian because I like him. He's old school, man.
Mhm.
That's old school PRT right there, brother. I was gonna wave, but I don't want to be like Elon Musk. He was throwing a Nazi salute. I saw it. Damn Nazis. I was gonna be like, yeah, but then I just, I inadvertently just did it. I didn't mean to. I take it back. Can I go backwards? I'll take it back.
Yeah. Play back and ate that tape.
Doesn't mean I like the communists. I'm just not a fan of Nazism. I'm not a fan of communism. I'm not a fan of any ism, racism, whatever. Taxism. Don't like any of it. Plagiarism. Sexism. Racism.
Isms.
What is it? Let's see. Nazism, communism. The isms are just bad. Stay away from the isms. So Juan, if you want something, but Juan, you message me separately, okay, on your own. Just send me a message on like a text. You got my phone, my personal number, and I'll send you something. Yeah, exactly. Satanism. I'm not down with the isms, man. I don't like it, and I don't like autism, and not that I don't like kids with autism.
Sounds good.
I don't. I was about to say it before you did that. It's not that nothing against children with autism. I don't like that they have autism. I think it's a horrible thing, and I'm telling you right now, it's caused by something that rhymes with vaccines. I'm just saying. There's a lot of evidence, because we didn't have kids having that issue, and so now. My friend Danny Robles, when I saw the Dogman, his nieces they have it, and it's horrible.
So you're saying Maxine Waters is to blame?
Maxine.
Hmm?
Maxine. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Somebody says transvestism. Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't even like that. I don't actually. That's so weird.
Tim Curry actually hates that movie
He
too.
he hated
Oh,
it.
that's another actor I love.
I thought he died.
No, he had a stroke, unfortunately.
No, he died in my timeline. He died in your timeline. Maybe he's still alive.
Yes, thank God.
What's funny because I came across a Facebook post the other day. I was just scrolling and like
Liberalism.
someone posted a picture of him now, and he's like in a wheelchair and after a stroke and everything. And I had that thought too. I was like, wait, didn't he
Look
die?
what James said.
I thought he was dead. Yeah, see, he remembers that too.
Thanks for the donations. Tiny Tim, thanks you for what was Tim's issue? What was he trying to be cured
needed-
from?
Oh, he was the vampire.
The vampire.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
trying to get Tim cured. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's the ticket. And
Yeah.
and now they're gonna do a show and they're gonna be like, he can't even get his story straight about little Tim. He said he was the vampire, and at the end, he couldn't remember what he had. Folks, this is the evil kind of people you're following. Pastor Bob here. Let me tell you something. There was no Tim.
Just a bunch of lies.
It's just the lies, like the conspiracies to kill Jesus, was all about the Romans. The Pharisees did nothing wrong.
Them's all lies.
They're not the ones in control now. It's just just a ball of lies. Just a big old ball of lies. Tim Curry from Fern Gully. Cooper. Was he the Fern Gully?
Yes. He was
And Cooper
Hex.
knew that. They're like,
That's awesome.
Timmy needs to be warm to get rid of the vampire parasite. Exactly. Excalibur, so I can get you your money so you can send me those cameras so we can start doing investigations. Because I can't wait to be Skechers on the ground. See what I did there? I'm just saying.
Did you pick
Skechers,
the-
if you're listening, I do wear your shoes on occasion. I'm willing to be a spokesperson. But I wear other shoes too. Just so you know. Actually, we got another sponsor. We need to talk about it.
Oh, cool.
You're gonna get sponsored by
We-
Timberland boots.
We have declined a lot of sponsors. I think that though, and I'm being serious right now, I think that speaks to our integrity because we're not going to promote something we don't wear.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, one of them was a chain that they went, and I was like, I can wear it on occasion. Like, no, you can't wear those other chains. I'm like, forget it. And it wasn't no little bull crap either. It was a little paycheck, but I was like,
Hair
to
day.
compromise my integrity and tell you I want to wear this when I really don't. That's a lie. I'm not going to do that.
See the hair day, Rob?
Hmm?
He says, he's old people wear Skechers.
What, dude? I'm 49. What do you think? I'm some kid? Old people wear Skechers. Well, yeah, I'm 49 years old. What do you consider an old person? Right?
Did we pick the
Can't
winners?
whoop it. Can't whoop it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Did you pick the winners?
I picked Ken Christian. I'm waiting for y'all to quit.
Carly,
bullshitting.
I guess, because
Okay, so I think the first person who spoke up was, what was her name? Kathy Kiesler or something like that. Let me see.
Anybody want to join the membership? It's only $5.
Kristen Kiesler. That's who I'm going to pick. Because she was the first one who spoke up like immediately.
Kristen Kiesler. Okay.
the Kiesler elf.
Mm-hmm.
The Kiesler elves. Lolo has it right there. Read that. Yes, our 40s do wear Skechers. Exactly, Dorothy. We're in our 40s and we wear Skechers, and they're like, "Hey, you there, Sonny? Let me ask you a question. What kind of shoes are the young people wearing these days?" And he's like, "Oh, we're done with no caps, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like they be doing that spray and the glass be going, ooh, I'm telling you right now, like, okay, never mind. You're all still full of shit.
They're sport mode Crocs.
You can't get no words out of these people
With their broccoli hair bouncing
with their
around.
broccoli hair, broccoli head.
Ugh, broccoli.
Get off my mind. Okay. All right, so folks, let's focus up here. I got to run. So who are we picking? You're
Carly.
next. You're up.
I picked Carly.
Who's Carly?
I didn't catch the last name.
How you gonna pick somebody and
Kiara.
not know who they are?
Kihara.
I picked that kid. You know what I'm talking about? Wears purple shirt, runs real fast, has his hat on backwards. You know what I'm talking about. No, we don't, Bill, but don't roofie us.
Oh man.
You got the kid with the Jello pudding pops and purple shirt. It's Carly's. He's running fast.
No.
Yeah, okay. Life of the party, unless you take a drink from him.
So send your shirt size and your address through the email to Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com so we can get you your stuff.
Yeah. I like New Balance. So where's I'm looking for Carly. I don't see this person.
No, she's
right
right
there.
here.
It says good pick.
Okay, where?
Right above Lolo.
Right on. I just see right on.
What?
I see laughing, good pick. Okay, is that who she? And she said that she has never won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we got it. We got King Christian, who's won before, but so what? He's a member. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And then we got Carly Kihara,
And then
Kihara
and then
and-
Kristen Kiesler.
Kristen Kiesler. So you know what to do. Do you know what to do? You tell them.
Yeah. So if you won, make sure you send your address, your name, and your shirt size in an email to Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. You can also check the chat because the mods have posted the instructions a few times, so you can just scroll up and see it again. Also, mods, if y'all wouldn't mind just posting the instructions again for the winners, just to be thorough, make sure they have it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Paul Sinclair. Yeah, I somebody that won recently. I'm sending them a Paul Sinclair book. They won.
He's a really nice guy too.
Paul Sinclair
yeah.
is awesome.
Mhm.
And I'm about to record with a couple of OGs here pretty soon, and so it's going to be really cool. About time to get Paul back on and do some record with him.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I forgot to tell you he messaged that he wanted to talk to you.
Yeah. So Gainer, who won, you were picked, but you're from the UK. If you're picked and you're from the UK, don't worry. We'll have Paul Sinclair send you something. But once we get the 7 Clay thing set up, and we will do it, it's just one thing after another keeps popping up. We'll get it done. We'll be able to just send you something from that store. We can just send it to you, and so we won't even have to have it in stock here. We'll just tell people, hey, and what we'll do is we'll go 2 weeks and have all the names turned in to them, and they'll ship they'll do the shipping for your what am I trying to say? Shirts, hoodies, pants. We're even going to have pants, not jeans, but like sweats. And then we'll ship your books and your other stuff, stickers and keychains, things like that. Well, they can ship keychains from there too.
Never mind.
And then you can buy tumblers too. We are coming out with a Patreon exclusive hoodie or black shirt. We might just start off with the t-shirt and see how it works, and then go to the hoodie, or vice versa. But yeah, we're going to have, it's going to be black with gold symbol, the logo. And also we're working on tumblers for the listeners, if you are a Patreon member. So be paying attention to that. Thank you to everybody who donated. We really are trying to get the money together to get the rest of the equipment we need. And it's about $2,000, but it's a good deal because what Excalibur has is worth a lot more than $2,000, but she's holding it for us so that we can give it to her. And so we're going to give her the $2,000, but I got to knock over a liquor store first. I better not say that. There'll be one knocked over. And they'll be like, he did it. I heard Josh Turner say it. He's a very evil and wicked man. Have you heard of Aleister Crowley? They're like, no. Well, anyway, he's like him.
Mojo says Leviathan Thong logo in gold.
I was thinking, we ought to come up with a Leviathan
Do it.
for the ladies.
Like here, like the little logo with the artwork.
No, an actual Leviathan. Kidding, folks. We're kidding. Hey, anyways, folks, I'm out of here, man. Thank you. We will see you when we see them again.
What is that? Friday.
Friday with Robert Prinz. He's going to tell us all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, Sunday, we're going to do Arlene's story. Arlene's got something to talk about. So Arlene will be telling her encounters. Let me tell you something. Okay, I'm going to say this. If you haven't listened to last night's episode with Monica Rollins, go back and listen where she talks about her werewolf encounter. Pretty good stuff. And it wraps up the 3-part that we did. It's pretty raw, some of the things that me and her talk about with the domestic and all the stuff that went on with her. She was very forthcoming and opened up about a lot of stuff. Okay. And so, yeah, just check it out, folks. Thank you, and good night. Yeah, don't forget to like the live. 50 ways. We're about 2.